Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Y'all are brewheads? Yeah, we brewheads. So pour a glass of craft beer, we can do this. Yeah.
What's good, y'all? This is Cee, Certified Brewhead, and welcome to episode 119 of BrewHeads, the podcast Adjunct series. Back in business. We were off last week. You guys may or may not have noticed. I have been under the weather, as the kids say. So, getting back in the seat, ready to get potting again. I'm excited to be back. We have a ripper tonight. This is one we've been actually sort of mapping out for a number of months. So I'm very excited. But of course, before we get into the pod, this episode of BAOS is brought to you by the good folks at Manscaped. Oh, they deserve an applause, guys. Now, roses are red, violets are blue. Our friends at Manscaped have a gift for you. Manscaped is now selling beard products, mate. That's right, the leaders in grooming are revolutionizing the men's hygiene game once again with the new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. I have this bad boy right here. I haven't had the chance to use it because I don't want to show you guys dirtied up equipment. I'm going to be busting it out as we go. So it all starts with the Beard Hedger, this cordless trimmer. Did I just fucking lock it back up? Look, I was smarter before. Left it open for myself. This cordless trimmer has a rotary wheel with 20 cutting lengths. That's pretty crazy. Like, you can see this right here. Like, look at all those lengths, mate. You block my stupid face. Yeah, look at that. And all with one guard, so no more messy drawers full of extra add-ons. I hate that. With this kit, it's never been easy to sculpt your precise look at any length, so make sure you're looking extra lovely this Valentine's Day by using the Beard Hedger, and even better, save 20% off and get free shipping with the code BAOS at manscaped.com. Now, like I said, I haven't had a chance to try this one just yet, but I've only heard amazing things, and it would actually come in handy, sort of, keeping everything trimmed. I go see a barber regularly, but in between, my problem is trying to keep I don't really have the equipment to keep everything sort of like nice and neat. So this is going to help me out a lot. So the Beard Hedger Pro Kit is the ultimate tool to get the perfect V-Day look. 7 million men already trust Manscaped with their balls, so it's time to trust the hair up top with them too. With this new kit, take your grooming routine to the next level. It all starts with the Beard Hedger. This electric beard trimmer is a premium beard sculpting machine. Along with having only one guard, leaving little mess. Excuse me, I'm getting emotional. It's also waterproof. You can shave in the shower, which is actually pretty fucking cool, to avoid all that hair in the sink or on the bathroom floor. Plus, the titanium-coated T-blade, titanium, that's kind of gangster, is tough on hair but smooth on your face, leading to single-stroke efficiency. I'm all about single-stroke efficiency, guys. Manscaped and Valentine's Day are the perfect pair, and the new Beard Hedger Pro Kit doesn't end there. So, they've created 4 dermatologist-tested formulations for your post-trim hygiene, which is pretty dope. First, there's the beard shampoo and conditioner, which is this little guy. Boom, same packaging as the bowl deodorant and such. Nice and easy. You need to remember all your hair is different. Beard hair is more coarse and easy to damage than the hair on your head. Fun fact. That's why the kit has made shampoo and conditioner specially designed to moisturize, reduce ingrown hairs, replace natural oils, and promote beard health. Very cool. Now, next the kit has Manscaped beard oil, which I'm a big fan of. No one wants a guy whose beard is brittle and dry. The oil relieves dryness both on the beard and the skin beneath while adding a little shimmer and shine, making him look extra fine. Look at the rhymes here. Cap off the kit with the beard balm, which is this shit. I like beard balm too. Very cool. And the beard balm is a pomade that shapes, styles, moisturizes, and tames for a sculpted look. It's not even coming out. There we go. It didn't block my face enough. Come on, camera. There you go. Show that. Yeah. You see the vibes. The Beard Hedger Pro Kit also comes with 3 free gifts. A beard brush, which is sick. I guess, give that bad boy a little one too. You know what I'm saying? A comb, scissors, and to ensure that you have all the tools for a perfect beard. So it's all tucked away here, but you get the point. From first impression to last, you're going to love it, and everyone who sees your improved facial hair game will love it too. No one likes a weird beard. It's true. So say goodbye to all your stubble trouble and tame your mane this Valentine's. So get 20% off and free shipping with BAOS. The code is BAOS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, code BAOS. You know the vibes. Spice up this V-Day this year with Manscaped's Beard Hedger, 1 stroked, 1 guard, 20 lengths. Boom. And with that, guys, it's potting time. So we don't often get the opportunity to chat to new breweries, relatively fresh in their journey. It's something that I've always enjoyed doing whenever we get the opportunity to do that. And sometimes, breweries want to hold off a little bit and just wait until they feel maybe feeling comfortable and dialed everything in, which is what we did with these guys here. We connected early on and just wanted them to get all their get all things in gear. So it's a new business, new facility, new equipment. You've got a lot of dialing in to do, and mate, are they dialed in? So guys, please do me a favor and welcome the boys. I'm gonna try and sorry, I keep fucking this up. Okay, the boys at All My Friends and Nathan from NathanDoesBeer in the building. Folks, welcome.
Welcome, fellas.
Hey.
Great to connect. Very happy that we're doing this finally. I know we spoke. Oh, it must have been like around 6 months ago. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it was like middle of the summer. It was pretty close to like after we'd opened.
Oh, okay. So it'd been a little more than that. Yeah, because I would have got the stuff from Durand and then brought it back to Montreal. It's probably before I lived here. Right?
Oh yeah, long before.
Shit. Yeah, I got a horrendous memory. That makes so much sense. Okay, so we, like I said, like I think it's pretty key to let new breweries kind of like feel it out a little bit, get there, just get everything in gear so you guys feel comfortable. And I'm glad that you took the time and that we kept in touch and you guys got to. I missed hanging out with Rob last week because I was sick, but I know Nate hung out recently. You guys all connected, so I feel like everything's meant to be now. We're here. We're ready. We're getting into it.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Well, like I gotta say, if we do this again though, like I get the Zoom calls, but like it'd be way better if we just had you here around the table.
It definitely
maybe version 2.
Mate, that could be if we could make. So Nate and I obviously are living in pretty opposite sides of the province, and you guys are like flat in the middle. Actually, you guys are pretty close to me though, so it's possible.
We got extra bedrooms.
It's actually a pretty good meeting point because it's only about
halfway,
a 3-hour drive from me. Yeah.
Okay, so that could be something for later this year, perhaps. And we definitely will.
Well,
yeah. Let's keep it.
That's definitely been something we want the brewery to be. We want it to be a meeting place. So, hey, what better way to do it?
Hey, fuck yes, that's exciting. First things first, fellas. Shall we crack one open?
Let's do it.
Alrighty. Yep. So we have quite the lineup this evening. We are going to start on the lower end of the scale, of course. Tell us about this first beer, boys.
Oh. All right, Rob, that's you.
Oh, it's made out of Softie, so it's our flagship here. It's been around since the beginning. So we launched this one last May when we opened, and it's a 5.6% ABV. We use Citraaa, Mosaic, and Cashmere in this one. It's kind of called Softie. We really went for Softie, and I really think we nailed it on this one.
We can kind of
try it out. It's full of aroma. It's definitely one that I've been trying to nail down is that kind of lighter ABV, bold flavor piece. Something that's tough to really get right. I found a lot of these ABV ones, something like that. So I really want to get that like creaminess and that soft mouthfeel and based on.
Love it.
Yeah, Oh, sorry. Oh, I was just gonna say, like when we launched, it was Rob's always been great. He can come up with recipes, do lots of stuff on the fly, and we kind of like launched a bunch of beer that we just really dug, and this is a beer that like our customers just snagged onto, and I think Rob really nailed it. Is that it drinks like you're drinking a full IPA, like it has all the flavor that you want when you crack an IPA, but it's not 6.5%, 7.5%. So it's you get to have a couple of them, and watching your podcasts and seeing your social media, I know you like to have a couple in the evening, and if you're pounding a bunch of 7%ers, you're not going to be able to like I don't know me, I'm like a one or two beer a night. Like I couldn't do too many 7%ers. So it really just was like our client, our customers, our accounts, and everybody just really snagged onto this one and really loved it. And that's why we decided to keep it around, because we originally, I don't think we were thinking any of the beers would stay like on all the time.
Interesting. Okay, I love that. Um, quick thing. So, Ryan, I can hear you perfectly, and Rob, you sounded like you were on a phone in Afghanistan. So, what I think it's because the microphone is probably closer to Ryan. But what you could do is maybe just take the head. You guys could either like snuggle, or you could probably even take the headphones out because you're just both in front of the thing. It might be okay potentially.
No, here, let me.
Yeah, I think Rob's voice is reaching all the way to Ryan's earpiece, which is why it's sounding echoey.
Yeah.
Well,
Let's see how that is.
oh, there we go. Can you hear us now?
Yes.
That
Rob,
might
do you
be
want?
way better.
Yeah, that might be a bit better. Rob, do you want to say hi? Just so we can make sure we get it.
Hey, how's it going?
There we go. Alrighty.
Yeah, that's much better.
Definitely a lot better. Sorry, I just want to make sure that.
Okay, yeah.
We thought we'd do all the technical difficulties once the podcast started rather than do it before.
Professionals.
Well, you know what, you guys, this is on me. This is my fault. I do this all the time, so it's okay. I should have probably checked before we did it. But you know what? Never mind. We are fixed. The camera looks gorgeous. Can you guys hear us? Okay.
Yeah, a little quiet, but
That's fine.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Beautiful. So, shall we get this in us,
Let's do it.
fellas? Cheers. Thanks for hanging out.
Cheers.
Appreciate it.
Oof.
Oh yeah, this is great. You guys definitely nailed. Like, you're exactly right. Like, I feel like there's something to be said about larger bodied, lower ABV beers that kind of becoming a bit of a thing of late, and this really
Yeah.
hits that spot. What were the hops in this one again?
So this one's cashmere, mosaic, and citra.
Okay.
So I like using the cashmere. I use it early on, especially in the whirlpool. I really find it gives almost a texture to the beer, and I'll go that more into that texture when I talk about Euphonic or West Coast. But it's one of the attributing factors to that kind of smoothness is definitely how the hops are used and layered, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, it's also a lot to do with the water profile. We use reverse osmosis here, so we can really dial in that high chloride, low sulfate ratio that's kind of ideal for this style. The other thing with these styles is I don't think people really realize how much that ABV attributes to the body of a beer. So especially when you see the word like session IPAs, when they're down like 4.5, 4.6% range, there's really nothing to hold that hop flavor there for you, because just, it's hard to keep that kind, like that ABV adds so much of that body and texture, especially if you have a high ABV Pilsner or a high ABV lager of any sorts, you notice that almost big body to it just because there's nothing to hide it. So when it comes to these low ABV hoppy beers, you really have to make the body work in your advantage. So up to sweetness. So we're mashing in quite high on these ones. We're under pitching our yeast. So I'm pitching below 500 million cells per milliliter, kind of per hectoliter kind of range there, which really gets me that attenuation I want it to be at. So it gives it that body. I use a ton of flaked oats. I prefer oats over, or sorry, let me get that right. I use a ton of flaked wheat. I prefer the wheat much more than the oats, just because I find it gives less that slick texture that you get from almost that oil that you get off the oats. I find flaked wheat has that protein I'm looking for, gives me that head retention I'm looking for without adding that slickness. So I've really switched to heavy on the wheat side. But yeah, it's a combination of all those things that really makes that kind of low ABV hoppy beer work well.
Very cool.
Yeah, you're speaking my language there with this one, because I tend to not like session IPAs exactly for that reason.
Yeah.
that like the body tends to come out quite thin, and the profiles that tend to be more prominent are like pretty heavily acidic ones, and like with really sharp carbonation, and that I find that can even be the case with a lot of like 5.5% pale ales and whatnot. The body is like is kind of hard to get right. I tend to prefer double IPAs for for that reason, not just for not just for alcohol factor, but it's really more just about the body that tends to come along with that higher ABV. So the fact that like this is coming out quite smooth and so I think you've nailed it with like for all of the factors that that you've said. It's a good attention to detail to kind of bring forward a really like a really kind of softer, fuller bodied profile in in a lower ABV pale ale. I'm really on board with this.
I love it. I agree, man. And
Well,
again,
thank you.
all of the like the body is fantastic, and I'm definitely leaning towards those kind of like Nate and I had this conversation. Actually, Ryan and I, you and me were having this conversation a few days ago. Like I've found that I'm leaning towards this sort of ABV up to maybe 6.5 or whatever that have a bigger body as opposed to like the 8% plus double IPAs, because I'm completely satiated by what this ABV is able to offer. And this beer is a fantastic example of that. And I've heard, it's kind of a question for you guys. It might not be the fairest to answer yet because maybe you haven't been around long enough, but I've heard from other breweries that they're saying that a lot of their audience are sort of maybe requesting beers around this ABV now more so than the higher ABV ones. And I know you guys aren't dropping like a million doubles or whatever, but yeah, what's the demand looking like?
From like a sales standpoint, like looking at our numbers, it's obvious like that people love double IPAs. And I think it's because it's not just the alcohol. It's exactly that. It's the full flavor. You're getting like I almost feel like that 7.5 to like 8.5% is like that sweet spot where you're going to maximize the flavor of the beer, and you're going to get all like you're going to get all the good hop flavor. You're going to get that full body. You're going to get the full creaminess, and it's almost as if like I'm a little partial, but I kind of feel like that's how it's meant to be. But the thing is, it's not practical. It's not practical. Like if you're having that one beer a night, it's great. And if we look at our sales numbers, like we can see people are getting our double IPAs. They're loving it. There's a lot of people buying a few of them, right? So whereas and you get the like beers like Softie where we'll have customers come in and buy a 2 for. And so I think like I always correlate, I do the sales, so I always correlate everything with how they're selling, and that to me is the demand and what people are looking for. And it's kind of like that balancing act. Like how do you give that maximum amount of flavor? How do you get people that like like what they're searching for in a beer, but also do it in a way that like people don't always want to get hammered every night. So the thing is how do you kind of balance the two of them? So you're right. I think that it's like, be able to do a beer like this or do some nice IPAs that, get you that full flavor, but also allow you to have some without going to bed with the spins, right?
Absolutely, which is the word. And I think, yeah, you mentioned it before. I mean, everyone has their own drinking habits, and this is something you and I were talking about. Like, you have a couple a night. I like to do a little bit more just to get through more things, and I just kind of like to continue drinking rather than cut it off. And the lower ABV helps me do that. Maybe you wrap it up on like a big guy. Whereas like, so I guess drinking habits have probably changed. And I know over the last few years, people went kind of crazy in 2020 with like, stuffing their faces full of stuff. And then that kind of, leveled off. And then people have, alternated. But I think that's really interesting though, in that context about the sales numbers. Because obviously people are buying a case of Softie and then maybe, a 4-pack of a double IPA because they only want one at a time when they feel like it. It's great to be able to have that that just variety, and as well if people are having a lower ABV beer, even maybe people who are buying a case of Softie only want one of these a night, and it'll last them, the 4 weeks or whatever. But they're extra satiated because the body is so fire. The body is so big, so it almost feels like they're drinking more than they are. So it's regardless of the drinking habits, I think it's important what you guys are doing with a beer like this, and it's fantastic that this is your flagship too.
Well, that's it. We made this kind of for that double IPA level. So it's a full flavored beer, but it's it's not going to put a damper on the next morning type.
Yeah,
I really like
Yeah, I
how
like that.
how fluidly it kind of ended up as our flagship. Like when you're opening a business and like talking with Nate a little bit and talking to you, like it beer philosophy and like what direction you go and what ideas you take and what you think of. There's Bill's not here, but there's only three of us, and we sit and we round table things. We flow things by each other, right? And it's interesting because, like as I said, we had no plans of keeping any beer around. We really wanted to be
We
influenced.
didn't know what we were. Kind of thing. We were just hoping people would.
Yeah, we just did it. We like, what do we want to drink? Well, this is what we want to drink, so let's make it.
We knew what the beer had to be good, and we knew the branding had to be good. And that was kind of, and we both the tap room. Yeah, we had a goal for that image and the idea in our head for the tap room. And Bill was the one that made that one.
okay.
Yeah.
We made it look nice in here for.
But overall, we just wanted like, and even still now, our idea for beer is just to flow with it. Like we sit down every month when we're going to make beers. Like we have a little like a rough plan, but we sit and talk about what's working, what's good, what
do we want to make? Like,
what we want to make. We talk about new stuff. We're like, you want to try something new, or like Rob, maybe we shouldn't try so much new stuff. If we could chill out and just try one or two new things. But yeah, like that's why I like Softie so much right now, man. Because especially like we're starting to do kegs a little bit more and doing a little bit more out there, and our local market's starting to pick up on us more and more. And it's just talking about it as a flagship, and the more I talk about it, the more I sell myself on how like we kind of like it just fits where we want it.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. That's very cool, man. I love it. I think it represents you guys really well. And it kind of sets the drinker up to understand the rest of your lineup and the things that you guys do, which is great. I feel like this is like, it's like a nice starter. I'm like, hey, you like this shit? Well, wait till, and then you guys watching and listening right now, we'll see as we go that, we're just going to ramp things up from here. So this is great, guys. Like, yeah.
Playing on what you said there, like a good starter, it's our customers that come in here, like, so being down in the county, we get a lot of people who are big fans of alcohol tours and have no idea who we are, because like who are we? We're like, we haven't been open a year yet. We're still just a bunch of guys who like drinking beer, and we'd make a go of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Softie is
We converted.
We are making, like, my goal when I work a tap room here on a Saturday in the summer is to convert over like non-craft beer drinkers and wine lovers and all these people who are coming in because we've made, like, the county's a wicked place. We made so many friends here. And like our friends at all these other wineries, breweries, will be sending people over to us. Some people come over and be like, hey, we were told to come over here from so-and-so. And they've never, like, they always come in and we don't like IPAs. So anything else but an IPA. And I'm like, well, fuck. Well, that's usually all we have on our menu. So best trick them. So I'll pour a sampler of Softie and I'll put it in front of them. And like we did our oldies, which is our golden ale. And we did Truce, our blonde ale, which are good for the people who.
The craft pleasers. You gotta have a yellow beer.
Yeah, you got to have that drinker.
There's a time and a place.
I'm in place.
There's always one in my fridge.
But the thing is, I'll always pour a Softie beside it, and literally like 99 times out of 100, that person, like the person who said I don't like hops, will drink it and go, oh my god, and they'll order a pint of it, and I'm pumped on it, and honest, like I hope.
The ABV doesn't scare them away, which the IPA does.
Yeah.
And it's the flavor too. I just want to convert everybody.
It has very low.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
so
actually...
it's our contribution to bring people over to the craft beer industry.
I've said
I
that a
love
bunch
that.
on here. I love that a lot. It's great to hear that because I found just in my personal life that, say, whatever, I've been out, like one of my girlfriend's friends, I remember being in New York, I was drinking another half, and she was like, what the hell is that? Like, looking at the beer. I'm like, try it. And she's like, yeah, she's a white wine, or just a wine drinker. She lost her shit. And people always think that maybe, the typical thing is like a craft lager or something will be the one to convert people. But I really think that New England IPAs are the one because for the exact
100%.
reason.
There is.
But it's like it's everything they don't think an IPA is, and it's juicy and it's flavorful and it's soft and it's like it's not too dissimilar for other things. It's not scary, but it looks scary and it sounds
It's
scary.
approachable.
So
Yeah,
it's very
it is.
approachable. But I guess you're doing it the right way by tricking them and not really telling them, "Hey, try this," and not saying nothing else. I love that. I think that's like the best way to go about it, and you're actually doing craft beer in general a favor by doing it that way. I love that.
Definitely.
Well, yes and no. I also like being a tourist spot. I'm conscious all the time. I want this person to have a unique, good experience.
Mm.
So if I can give them something a little bit different than they're getting everywhere else, if I can make their stay here like a little more enjoyable, like they're here for a weekend, it might be their only weekend off of the summer. You don't know. So if I can give them a beer they've never had before, something that's gonna like really stay with them, then that's a win. That's the goal.
Yeah, if they're coming away from that weekend in the county, telling a story of I went to this place called All My Friends, and you wouldn't believe this pale ale called Softie that I tried. If that's part of that experience, they're going to be talking about it.
100%. It's very cool. So I'd love to hear the story. Speaking of stories, of how you guys both got into craft beer, and then how the brewery itself sort of spawned from that.
Okay, I guess I'll start. Okay, I got into craft beer through friend of a friend, I guess. Just kind of drinking, and then I got into home brewing, I guess, is what I should go to get into first. Because this was just after college. I moved to Kingston, had a good buddy of mine who was in the home brewing, and this would have been 2007, 2008. And it was cool to watch him do it and try to drink the beers. That kind of got me hooked on like, oh, cool, I can do this at home. I can, go into go into the LCBO and trying the new beers on the shelf, kind of get into that kind of stuff. Um, Kind of got hooked on craft beer, kind of, started to try to read whatever literature was available at the time, wasn't much. Um, it wasn't until, I guess it would be 2011, I really got to get into craft beer business as far as I started home brewing. I started working for another brewery, just doing um, actually pouring beer at craft beer festivals. I had a full-time job at the time, and a friend of mine worked at the brewery and invited me out to. It was it was 2010 Toronto Festival of Beer. I was pouring
Nice.
beer there for a craft brewery, and I loved it. I loved it. I got to hang out with the people afterwards. After the event was over, I was like, "Oh, this is a cool culture." Um, I grew up with in punk rock bands and stuff, so I was always anti-establishment that way. And craft beer was kind of, back then it was like anything but Labatt's or Molson. It was
Right.
very anti-establishment. It felt back then, which again attracted me to it. And I was young back then. And I really just kept rolling with it. And then a job opened up in 2012 at a brewery in southwestern Ontario as a cellarman, and I got it. So just, I quit my full-time job, took a pay cut. I just got out of a relationship. I moved in with my best friend from college and was working down the road at the brewery, just cleaning tanks and doing deliveries, cleaning kegs, that kind of stuff. And it wasn't 3 months after that it was kind of like they started taking off. The craft beer started becoming a thing. So I was bumped up to the brewer house, learned how to make beer. From there, I would be stealing grain and yeast and hops. Not stealing, I was, just taking and making beer at home on the side.
Without paying for it.
Yeah, it was research and development.
There you
You
go.
know, it was fun. It was, and then
Good thing
started
we-
getting some beers from the U.S.
Good thing we didn't mention the brewery.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Started getting some beers
smart.
from the U.S. Kind of opened my eyes to like, there's a next level to this too. And that's the one thing that made me think, wow, this, I am getting in on the pot, like on the main floor. This isn't like, if this is going to be a thing in Ontario. So I kept going, ended up writing my IDD certification exam. So I'm a certified in brewing science. I took a head brewing job at a new startup brewing company that opened in 2016. So I got my experience there, sourcing the equipment, commissioning the equipment, making all the recipes myself, launching with them. And then that's where I kind of met these guys. So, I met Ryan and Bill, I guess, 2016, 2017. And it would be after that, maybe you a bit after that. I met Bill first.
Yeah.
Bill, he comes from the craft beer industry as well. So
We should make up a total narrative for Bill's story.
Bill's experience. He wasn't in brewery. He brewed for one brewery, but he was logistics and management for others.
We'll finish off.
Yeah. But sorry, where were we? Yeah. We met and we weren't really happy with where we were in the brewery, how the direction it was wanting to go. And we've always talked about doing something like this. And it wasn't until Ryan kind of started hearing about us talking about it, he's like, why don't you just guys do it?
I'm a pusher.
Yeah. You're like, why are you guys talking about it all the time? Why don't you just do it? Like, you guys can do it. You have all the skills. And we're still, we started looking online at places and like talked about it. And it, what, 2 years talking about it?
There always needs to be someone in the group who acts before they think. Bully.
And that's you.
Can put together a really good argument on the spot without thinking. And that was me. That was me.
Yeah. Well, COVID happened too, and we're like, okay, we definitely need to do this.
Oh, we'll get into that part. Let me say how I met you first.
Yeah.
I met a girl in Toronto. I was visiting her quite a bit. She's now an ex-girl. I couldn't afford to go visit her every weekend because because I drove a truck because it was a dumb idea. It looked shiny and pretty, but it was $140 to go to Toronto and back. I was at the brewery that he was working at, saying bye to a friend who was moving for a new job, and the owner, I can talk pretty quick, and I've worked in sales a little bit before, and he offered me a job, and I said, hey, do you want to go to Toronto and sell beer for me? We'll give you a car, we'll pay your gas and your beer, and send you down and give you some money. And I hadn't even thought of it. I just said, well, why not? I'll give it a try. So I went out, we sold some beer for a day together, and I realized that like I've been training for this my entire life.
He was really good at it.
Honestly, sitting at the end of a bar and talking to the bartender and the bar manager for an hour while having beers is a bit of a specialty. But like talking about craft beer, like I've always, like, I think when I was in college in 2001, the first time, I used to go to the LCBO and we'd like snag up a bunch of Schneiderweiss in the tall bottle, because that was like pretty much the only real thing you could get. It was either that, we would usually get like 3 of those and a 6-pack of Schlitz, and drink them before going out. No judging. But like I always like, the thing is before I didn't have the friends around me that understood craft beer like Rob did, and even like Bill did. Me, it was like I tried this and I loved it, and I had no idea. There was like, the internet wasn't like what it is today. There was no craft beer culture. Like there was no community. And so I just drank it and loved it. And that was like a habit I always continued growing up. Like if I was going out or going to a party, I'd always get a couple like really random neat beers, something different, something I hadn't tried before. And it was fun getting to try all these different things. And I had no clue, no understanding what any of it was. And I continued on with that. So I guess like when I got into like selling craft beer, I love beer. I love all beer, and I still do. So when I got offered the job, like I walked in and I knew nothing. Like I remember one of the first breweries I went to, I'd gone to a couple random breweries here and there, but the first one I went to purposely was Treehouse. And I used to go down to this
I sent him there. Remember, he says,
Yeah.
the boss is like, can you do me a favor, stop by Treehouse?
So like he sent me, and I'm just like, sure, I don't know what I'm getting into. And I would go down like twice a year, so maybe 3 times a year. So I'd go down. I went to Treehouse. I'm in this like 3-hour long lineup. There's like 1,000 people like lining up, and I got up there. I'm like, well, I guess I better get a couple cases.
Yeah, this was back when they had the one location.
I'm like, when am I going to be here again? And I remember drinking it, thinking like, and that leads into the brewery, is like, this is amazing. Like this beer is like, this is something I've never had before. And like seeing the people there, and then like through my trip, I went to another brewery called Aeronaut that was amazing. Another one called Lord Hobo, and there was
Notch.
like a Notch. Oh, Notch is amazing. I went to like these amazing breweries, and everybody was doing it. Everybody there was drinking it. Like there wasn't like everybody was drinking hazy IPAs and all these beers. So like that was my moment where I'm like, this is awesome. I have to bring this back for the guys. Like I have to bring this back. Like that's still a big thing. It's still a big thing for me is that like, and for us is like anytime we travel, like we go and like we all like you gather the beer you want to drink, but like honestly, like I got a bunch of those Bellwoods collabs, which not Bellwoods, Blood Brothers collabs. And I thought they were great. And like I'm sitting there, I've got one beer of one of these beers, and I'm not drinking it despite wanting to drink it a ton because I'm like, I gotta wait till I get around these guys. But that's the thing is I gotta get around these guys, and that's what got me into craft. Like the thing is like as much as like I love beer, I love sitting at a bar, I enjoy all like everything around here. It really leads back to the fact that like, and why we started the business here is that, I've got a full-time job on the side, and I didn't get into this business or into craft beer because, I like drinking beer. I could have just, the money we spent on the brewery, I could have bought a lot of craft beer, and a lot of trips to craft breweries. I got into it because like these guys are my friends, and I like sharing a beer with them. And these guys, like I believe in them, you know what I mean? Like I got 2 partners that are like, I got Rob, who's like I want to drink all the beers that he puts out. I trust him 100% with what he does. And I've got Bill, who's just like that guy. He's like the glue who holds everything together. So like that's how I got into craft beer. Like I progressed from there, and even after leaving there, when sitting down and talking to these guys, and they were toying with the idea of having, putting a brewery and opening a brewery, and they threw at a bunch of awful locations. And I won't mention those places because they're really nice towns, but like, no.
They need to be in the county. We were like,
but we stumbled across, it's like anything. You see like that one little option where you're just like, well, what about that? And you just kind of like tiptoe over there, and you tiptoe a little bit further, and next thing you know, you're sitting here talking on a podcast with 2 dudes who know their beer and wondering how the hell you got here, right?
I love it. That's awesome, man. And that was all from when you guys started talking about it, when you were working together, to when you opened. What was that kind of like?
We would have been, Bill and I would have talking about doing something together soon after we met.
So,
right.
I know that I have a pretty good timeline. Now summer of 2020 in the spring, I guess, they had been kind of toying about it in the winter before 2019, 2020.
Yeah, we looked at a few spots.
It
wouldn't work.
I went with them to look at a couple of spots, and like it just
he forced his way into
we needed begged and they pleaded. They needed it. Anyway, so we looked at a couple places that were just like one place. I remember like we looked and we're like, well, it looks nice.
It was an old church. So it was
I was talking. The church is good, but the mill was even better. The church was good.
The mill.
The mill.
Otters in the basement.
And there was definitely otters in the basement, but which would have been cool. But I remember we were out in this courtyard, which would have been a cool place to drink. And I just kept thinking, this is rad. I remember asking, like, where does everybody park? And the one of the tenants there was like, oh, the community's so easygoing. People just park on the streets. They're really okay with it. And as she said that, I looked across the road and, like, no judgment here, but there was a hairless cat in the window of the street, a house right across the street. And all I could think is, I'm like, I don't know if they're going to be cool with a bunch of people drinking beer around here. I don't get easygoing vibes. And so, yeah, we actually were sitting on the patio of a place called the Red Lion. And I pointed out, guys, there's like 500 feet away, just across the bridge, there's a building for lease. You want to go look at it? And it just kind of went from there.
That's awesome.
So we did look at that church. We looked at this
The church was pretty rad.
It was like this, I guess it was like Bohemian style church.
It looks like you should just be only doing Belgian triples.
Exactly.
Only Belgian
Right,
triples.
right.
I actually totally shack that.
We could totally do a Doppelbock, which is probably one of the best beers ever made.
But I'm kind of, I would have loved doing that. I love Belgian beers. This is the truth. I love IPAs.
It's opening a brewery's mixing vision with budget.
Yeah.
What's really important.
It's really
Not for some breweries.
No, not at all.
Hey, is it time for a second beer?
Look at that. See, I knew you'd come in. Let's go. Good thinking.
That's a good guess.
What are we doing? What your choice, man? What are you doing next?
Whose choice? Mine?
It's yours, man. You guys are we've had all these beers.
Yeah,
No
that's true.
influence.
All right.
Let them pick what they want to pick, man.
Nate. Okay, so there's about 3 options because obviously the big guy we're waiting to the end.
Yeah.
So we have. Okay, they're all about the same ABV, right? Which is great. 6.2, 6.2, 6.5. Okay.
Yeah, don't even look at the ABV. It's good.
Okay. So a Mosaic IPA, an IPA, or a West Coast? Nathaniel?
Mosaic.
Yeah, let's do Mosaic. Maybe we can put the Westie in the in the middle or
break
something
it up.
like that. So let's do the Mosaic.
Good thinking. All right. Now this one is called smart, guys. Smart. So this one is called Ethereal. I have not had this one, so I'm very excited. Why is it not focusing? Focus. God damn it. Tell us about this one, fellas.
So this one actually technically does contain hop pellets. So this was Mosaic IPA brewed with Mosaic Incognito and Mosaic Cryo.
Okay.
And for those that don't know, I'll explain.
Please.
So Mosaic Incognito is a product from Haas Farms, which is one of my hop suppliers. So it is a CO2 extract hop resin. So under high pressures, they extract all the terpenes and oils that are from the hops, get them all separated, and then we put that into the whirlpool. And what it does is really enhances flavor and aroma in the finished product. Product's maybe been around for maybe a year now. This was our second time using it. I really enjoyed it, actually. It made the whole brewery smell like that, like a fresh bag of hops when we put it in. It was quite impressive. Did you taste it?
It was a bit of an experiment.
So yeah, it is very high concentrate. We used about a kilogram in about a liter, I should say, in the whirlpool, and it added quite a bit from that, actually. The other product in this is Yakima Chief's Mosaic Cryo hops. So cryo hops is a cryogenically free separation that they do with the hops, where they actually, it's almost like a hop keef that they pelletize. So it's almost like a powder. So it's a highly concentrated, pretty much powdered hop that we use as a dry hop in this.
I gotta say that bag of cryo was probably the best bag of hops that's come in here.
It was We wrote down the lot number on this box of Mosaic. We're like, we I called my supplier. I bought some more of it. It was awesome. It's just super pungent, super sticky, all the way through fermentation. We were getting super like this was one batch for like, oh man, we're going to lose like a keg worth of beer just not us doing tank rips on this all
We
night long.
did actually.
Like we were drinking, like it was going back, like it was
There was
out of
like
control.
there was like 30 liters of loss.
Yeah, at
we
least.
literally, I think it was
Holy
day
shit.
9. It was like near done. Like it was just tasted so good.
Yeah.
And right up until like it was like 30 days to packaging, and it was like we were drinking like Bill was bringing home growlers.
Yeah, we got into the growlers.
Yeah, we should have a little talk.
Yes. Anyway, yeah. So you'll notice one thing, it's completely different than any of my other hazy IPAs. Basically, it's not super milky. Most of my IPAs before this have been quite a bit more hazy, and that
Yes.
is due to the hops and the way I add the hops to the beer.
Okay.
I don't know. That's one thing we've been talking about lately is how much that haze. Oh, sorry, I didn't even look at the screen. How much that haze actually. It doesn't contribute flavor. It's just in appearance, but how much it matters.
Well, I don't know. I think
I like it when it is milky. You
I
can't
feel
see
like
any shadow through the beer, but
I feel there's a little body. I feel there's a little body to it.
there
That's-
is.
that
I
was
don't know
the-
if it's perceived body you get from that really milkiness that you get in some IPAs.
This is
I think
this is
yeah.
this beer is
I think
basically-
perception has to play has to play a big part in that. It's
Oh yeah.
it like it's one of those things of if you were doing it blind versus versus seeing it first. I think that definitely has to play a part.
I'd love to know. They should actually do that test. I love the blind taste tests, so that'd be actually.
We've had this argument a few times. I always say I'm like for sours, I'm like with the berry sours, like those red and purple sours, I'm like it doesn't need to, it could be half as good, but it has that color and there's something like because I'm always like looking sellability, right? Like doing sales, I'm always looking what's the draw, like. You know, I don't worry about the beer quality, like thankfully, because like Rob,
Should.
Well, yeah, I should, but no, because I trust my partner and I know what he does, right? And so for me, I start talking about all the the what ifs and all the directions. So you're absolutely right. Like I joked with him during like the process. I'm like,
It's not hazy.
it's not hazy. We might as well just call it a regular ale. Like maybe we just call it a West Coast or something. Like I just kept fucking with him and pushing him because. You're right.
It wasn't as hazy, and that's the pellet compared to the cryo and incognito.
But I think that like this is one of the reasons why we waited a little bit too, is because to get to a point now where we can start using new products, I feel like our first beers were beers that were already in Rob's wheelhouse, and now we're getting into a point where. Like we've had the benefit of brewing with, the awesome dudes at Fine Balance, dudes at Town, and like Wiley at Wood Brothers. And like, these are like being able to talk with the different brewers. Now we're in a point where we can start thinking like, well, let's try this and like sit down and honestly talk about what do we really like about this? Like, what is like something that's super strong about this? Like, what's the likable versus dislikable? Like, what would we change? Would we do this again? And I think
that's along with dialing it in. That's one thing. Anytime you have new equipment, it's a learning curve, and I think we've been 8 months now, 25 different brands of beer. I think we're really getting the equipment dialed in, which is huge. No one does it.
Sure.
No one does it the first try. All the equipment's different, so all the experience I had in the past coming to this, it changes just a little bit. So I know the science behind beer, but the fluid management and all that around the brew house and the fermentation was a bit of a learning curve. And I think really now we have it dialed in to get what we want when we want it type thing.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's. I want to definitely sip this bad boy.
Yeah,
Folks?
the aroma is killing me here. I need to take a sip.
Cheers, yo.
I don't know why you guys weren't already drinking it. Like that's why we were talking. That's why we were talking so much that it gave you time to make it halfway through the beers, guys.
You know what? We
Like we got
probably
3
should
more
have.
pints to go, so now you know we'll talk a lot, so you can get in there.
So we can fuck the cheers right off then. We just try, we try to be we try to be
Yes,
hospitable.
sorry guys.
That's
Cheers.
okay. No worries. Cheers, boys. Or we could pour in
fellas.
cheers immediately.
The only first one's a good cheers.
Okay, so this mouthfeel is fantastic.
Yeah.
We're still new.
There's a ton of dank that I was getting on the nose, and and that's definitely coming through on the palate too.
Yeah, there's like a grassy vibe that you'd think would come more from like the chlorophyll or whatever in the T90 palettes, but it's almost like there's this like chalkiness to it that's it's like the chalkiness with a little bit of grassy vibes and the dankness that Nate you're talking about, and then this big like punch of tropical fruit, which is crazy.
Well, that's the one thing we talked about this one, how it's kind of more dank than juicy. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It has it's a bit weedy, it's a bit catty, it's a bit
it
of
is for
all
sure.
that.
Catty.
It's it is juicy. It's just I wouldn't say it's juicy first. I would say it's more of those other things first.
Yeah.
Which
Definitely.
is it's that mosaic. When you can get good mosaic, that's it. It's that overripe fruit kind of dankness that you can get. Almost compost, we sometimes say.
It's good garbage.
Yeah, good.
It's that good garbage.
Is that the
Everybody
other
knows. The thing is, everybody will know that.
Of course.
So given that this is all mosaic, maybe this is something you can answer, Rob. Something that I found with with mosaic focused beers is that something in the feel that I often get is like a fuzziness, kind of like a fuzzy peach skin kind of thing. I don't know if that's something that I've just internalized and now I just perceive it whenever I have a mosaic beer. Is there something to that? Do you think with mosaic?
Definitely you get those. I always find I get a bit of the that blueberry and a touch of strawberries on mosaic most of the time. But I found using these products, it actually muted those more flavors and brought out those kind of dank flavors more. I think if I used pellet, I would notice that you would notice those flavors coming out more.
I see. I've heard the blueberry thing, where with mosaic mentioned before, and I feel like that's that's one of those notes that's not kind of talked about as much. And whenever I read berries in a description, that one always makes me think, because that's one of those kind of tasting notes that isn't really talked about as much. Like the stone fruit is mentioned a lot, things like peach, mango, or grapefruit in West Coast. Those are very common ones. Berries a bit less so, but it seems to be coming up a bit more.
And I kind of prefer those kind of notes more than like that grapefruit and heavy citrus flavor. I find some of the other hops that have it, we did that collab, Besties. It was with Town, and we used Strata hops with Strata Mosaic, and it came off like pure strawberries. It was a cool combination. We really enjoyed it. We used was Cosmic Punch yeast in that.
Yeah. That was a very strawberry beer.
Yeah, that was one of my first ones that I had that kind of whoa, really get those kind of flavors if you especially layer them correctly. It has a lot to do with your body too. Like if you have a thinner body, I believe you will get a different kind of flavor that pops out of the hops as well. But this beer here definitely has a big body. It finished quite high gravity for 6.2% beer, but it finished quite high for that.
That's dope. Now this is great stuff, guys. This is exactly it feels like while you said, I kind of like that it's slightly different than I prefer that. It sounds like we all kind of prefer the milky haze, whether it's some sort of mental bullshit or we actually prefer it, who knows. But this fits well. What I've noticed from the beers I've had for you guys is a definite there's a theme going on there and a consistency through it. And I remember I had a bunch of the early stuff, and I feel like within like a month of you guys opening, or at least releasing beers, I'm sorry, it's like the quality was already pretty solid, but it felt like you just dialed it in like right after those first few beers. Like you just like it went like crazy. Was that like a perception that maybe I'm misinterpreting, or is that something you guys noticed as well? That like
Well, I think that was just part of the learning curve. Like I said, we knew the science. We knew how to make a good beer. It's just getting this equipment to do what we wanted. Especially like that first canning run that we did with the IPAs. It was awesome. Like it went really well. Everything canned, and they're like, okay, we're releasing these all tomorrow. And I didn't know how anyone would perceive it. Really,
Right.
we didn't know. I thought the beers were good.
No, we had a good. So we, the entire crew from Great Lakes Brewing, because we were
Troy.
we were unofficially sponsored. One of our friends is a sales rep, and he'd occasionally donate some beers on a Friday afternoon during our building process. Because we're in the brewery and we did all the construction ourselves, so we would be Monday to Friday and sometimes weekends in here swinging hammers and busting floors and doing stuff. And so part of their sponsorship is I say they want.
We got their stale dated beer.
You got their stale beer, but stale RoboHop is a good beer.
Yes.
But I feel like they came in the night before we were supposed to open. All the beer had just been canned, and like I remember we passed out a bunch of Softies, and it was like a lot of.
No, we put a case out. People started drinking at the end of the night.
It was a lot of good.
There was not one half full can. Every can was empty.
Yeah, you know what? I think the first month of being open, there wasn't beer left in the glass in the entire tap room. At least maybe even 2 months. Where like I remember the first time seeing beer in a glass, and I just left it there because I assumed they were coming back. So we had a little idea that people wouldn't hate us.
But the reception was more than we imagined, for sure.
Huh.
Empty glasses are a good thing.
You never expect it.
Do you think is that because like I've like been a big fan of the county for a few years now, and I've very much bigged it up, and I always felt like it's like a place to watch. So do you think it's to do with like, hey, there's this brewery doing really forward-thinking, trendy beers in because arguably, please correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure you guys are the only brewery of your style, for lack of a better word, making IPA forward brewery, you know, doing like some big stouts and some sours and a few other things, but you know, focusing primarily on IPAs. You guys are the only brewery of your style on the island, is that right?
Slake's pretty close, I think. Like Slake does
Slake and Matron putting out extremely high quality.
Yeah, they do amazing.
Definitely.
Yeah, we have not just them; it's the whole county.
Yeah,
That's some great stuff.
I think there was a need for somebody who was more focused on it. I think.
I think I'm going to step into Bill's shoes right now, because like when you ask that question of like what it was that like Bill is a very analytic, very smart dude, very logical, very like cold and precise. He's the drier side of us. He's the rougher. I'm the talker. He's the drier. But like one of the things that he always said is one of the things is you do everything by the numbers and you like basically focusing on the details, right? So like when we're opening a brewery, we wanted to open it in a place that made the most sense. Like, you know, like in Prince Edward County, like you can't find a place that makes more sense. Like
there is a perceived quality of the county that helps.
Well, even aside from that, you have 12, going to be 13 breweries in the county. People come here just to partake in beer, which means that you have their focus, right? It's not like, you know, the end of their day, they're just grabbing a drink. It's not like they don't have to go out of their way. Well, they do, but they're coming here. We fussed over how are we going to present this? You know what I mean? We all love getting those, you know, I love you guys are big on Mortalis and like love their art. You know, like you see a brewery like this and you you see some of these things that these breweries do, and you just get really inspired, right? But, okay, we got to fuss over that. And like, we all agreed, we're like, listen, man, like, we're not cutting corners on ingredients. We got to do the best beer. So like, we wanted to make sure the beer was good. And we just, like, Bill was very cool, calm, precise in making sure that every detail was the best we could do. Like, we didn't cut corners because it was easy on anything. We just, you know, we, like, even the building, we didn't cut corners because it was easy. We were in here. We didn't have heat. We didn't have heat all winter last winter. We just worked
6 days a week.
six days a week in very, very cold. We got power the first day of spring.
We had an old kerosene heater.
A kerosene heater, but it was shit. We gave up on that after a while. But the thing is I think that, like, Bill, I would put Bill as the detail that, like, you know, we're not going to compromise on this. We're not going to compromise on this. We're not going to compromise on that. And I think, and then just a whole shit ton of faith of just like, all right, well, we did everything the best we could. Here you go.
Well, we also, like, especially when it came to production, the one thing that we said, we're like, let's give ourselves no excuses for making bad beer. So other breweries I've worked at when I didn't have control, it's like, oh, this beer would have been so much better if I had this, or I could do this, or I had that piece of equipment. This, coming to this project, I was like, how I need to make I need to, you know, be able to put a beer out and be like, there's no excuse for this to be bad. So we went with the reverse osmosis. So my water, I can't complain about my water. My brew house is pretty manual. It's like a big home brew system, which I love. Hoses and pumps. It's not hard piped.
We can take you on a tour.
Yeah, we can take you on a tour actually. But it's like I can swap out pumps on the fly if I need. Like, there's no excuse that I can't make a good beer on that brew house. My fermenters are awesome. I oversized the shit out of my chiller, so my beer, you know, I crash my beer, gets the temperatures I want, it holds the temperatures I want. We're using a canning company that is so good at packaging my beer with such good oxygen levels in it that I even, like, some people might buy some beer and leave it 2 or 3 months. If they leave 4 months, I'm still sure that beer is going to be drinkable. Might not be as fresh and juicy as those first 3 months, but it's not going to be an oxidized, undrinkable product. I really wanted to represent ourselves like that in that way, so we really set ourselves up for success in that kind of stage.
And dumb luck. Absolute dumb luck.
Well, we got to talk about our artists too, or our designers, I should say.
Sometime in the future, we want to talk about our guy.
I would love to talk. We'll get to that for sure, because I think, like, basically what I'm taking from this is that, and I agree, I think that the time I spent in the county, there is some fucking phenomenal breweries. That's why one of the reasons I kept going back, and I know Nate had been as well. Like, we actually considered buying a house there. That's what we were looking before we decided on Hamilton, to be fair.
Oh, serious?
That's how much I loved it. We were talking to Justin at Matron, and he was showing us. He's like, look, we've got like 14 acres. See those trees there? That's all that. We're like, yo, fuck, you can get that much land? So, like, you know, I very much love the county, so I'm already sold on the place. And I feel like, from a complete, just a consumer's perspective, that what you're doing, whilst you are right, Ryan, that Slake is doing that to a degree, and they're definitely killing it with the haze, and they're killing it with the crispies, and like, there wasn't a brewery exactly like you, and you're filling a gap. It's not like you're like, oh, here's the 4th or 15th hazy IPA brewery that's all they do in the county. It's like, no, like, you guys are doing that, plus also you are the full package.
I think last week we had 6 IPAs in the tap room.
Love that.
Like, whoa, that's like a dream that I got through.
Yeah, working the tap room last week, I felt like it was a bit embarrassing. It's like, so apparently we're obsessed with IPAs because that's the only thing you can get.
Oh, we had a stout. We had
or a 9% stout. You can have a 9% stout, or you can have an IPA.
I don't know. I'd be like,
Funny how that happens.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'd be, well, fuck.
I wasn't complaining.
No, man. Like, let me pull up a seat there. God damn it. It's like, I just feel like what you're doing, you guys are the full package, though. And we'll get to the branding, because I think for a new brewery to have branding like this level exceptional is legitimately kind of rare.
And especially this early, like we've seen breweries go through rebrands that have kind of taken like brought them up next level, but your branding is quite unique and and really on point and kind of it really sets apart from a lot of from a lot of other breweries, especially young breweries, I would say.
100%. And even just like I kind of feel like we're talking about it so much, we might as well just fucking talk about it.
Yeah, let's get into it.
The like, even just I was actually thinking about this the other day, like thinking about your labels, they're that fire. Like even just the difference you can even see in if you're watching on the video version, like the metallic part on the Ethereal here. There's a nice little like a parrot or a tropical bird that's like the bird part is like metallic, so it's shiny, and the other, like multi-layered labels.
And what I'm showing here, same with the skeleton on the Softie can.
Yeah, like talk us through the thinking. I see you guys are kind of getting kind of low in beer. I saw you finish yours before, Rob.
Yeah.
Did you want to go to the next one? Then we talk about it.
Jacob and
So we again, I honestly think this might have been a little bit of dumb luck too. We originally reached out, like we're three dudes. None of us are graphic designers. We all have like very different tastes.
not music.
Not music, like music we're bang on, but the thing is like artistic. I think when we first started this, like we were all over the place as to what we were going to go with, and we started with one guy who just I had known him through like an extended friend of a friend of a friend through the motorcycle community, and he was down in Vermont, and we liked his vibe, so we gave it a go, and it like initial offerings we just weren't sold, and we shot our shot. We slipped into the DMs of this guy named Michael Zavicki. Michael Zavicki.
We did have a connection with him, with Chris Compo.
Yeah. So a friend of Bill's was like, had put him on a list of people to consider. Michael's worked for a design firm in Ottawa called Macmillan for 25-ish years. And it was one of those things where we just, man, the dude's like one of my buddies now. Like I talk to him like once a week online. He's a solid dude, but we pitched him, we told him what we wanted and what we were thinking, and we just talked to him about who we are. And his firm does a lot of big corporate stuff. So he brought a lot of skills to the table where he knows how to work in big corporate level, like, and all the little details that matter to like a mega corporation. And so this is his bread and butter. And he's encouraged to take side jobs to keep his creativity up and to try new things and to kind of spread his wings. And so he brought Jacob Bryce, who's the creative director for the whole firm, on, and the two of them worked together. And we'd like originally thought like we love music, and if we could take you,
we kind of told them our identity.
Yeah, we told them who we were, and like if you could look like on the wall here, we've got a bunch of like screen print band posters, like numbered posters from different things, and they're all like cool art, one off. And like I think like for me, one of the things I might have said was like I always talk about how these artists put out these prints using local artists that may never use them again, and they put out this cool small product. And we always talked about how cool it was, like going to different breweries and bringing cans back. I'm a nerd. I peel the label off and I put it into a little binder, and I've got like my best beers and my coolest labels at home somewhere. Yeah, and so I guess like when we presented it, one of the things we wanted to present was like we use artists multiple times. Like we liked what Collective Arts does with like representing different artists and stuff like that. But for us, it was like we really wanted to tie the art to a specific brand. We wanted to use an artist multiple times because we it's kind of like representing your friends. Like I wanted to, like we've used one named Tyler Spangler probably 5 or 6 times. We used a wonderful artist who did the Softie can, Tahini. She goes by the artistic name Tahini Sauce. Wicked artist. does some really cool stuff. And I guess like we wanted something that would represent the unique nature of each beer. Like the beer are all kind of tied together. Like there's similar styles, similar influences, different directions, but the art is as unique as the beer is. You know, like Rob spends all like Rob. He sits at home and I swear to God, all he does is write out recipes. Like I'll bring him a beer from the States and he'll come in and give me the recipe the next day because he'll sit and figure it out like longhand.
That's amazing.
So this guy, like we sit and we fuss over these details. So like this just hit home. Like how do you like different art, something that like, you know, our West Coast, like I don't know if you saw our other West Coast, and the West Coast has like it, there. It's got the old school vibe. The other one, our other beer, high fidelity that we had like a tape player, a tape deck spun out on it, and it's kind of gives you that old school vibe, you know, like, you know, a little bit of a throwback, but with a modern style. And so it's all collage, but it's all like we didn't do the work, man. We just approve stuff. We pick the art with some supervision.
Yeah, the designer sends us different art from different artists. We kind of select the artwork and then we select the name.
Oh yeah, so
people always ask, how do you come up with a name?
No. What first happens is we brew a beer, we forget we need a label for it, so then we sit down and we look through a bunch of art.
That was yesterday.
Usually in a matter of 5 minutes, 10 minutes, because we keep a stockpile of stuff we like. We find one that fits. And then we just throw out names.
100 names before one sticks.
And then you just know right away when something sticks.
It's one of the fun parts. You know what? It's not. It's just one of the fun parts about it.
It's a lot of fun. Now you have to kind of like, it's like naming your kid. You don't want to like.
You
don't want it to rhyme with something weird. Like there's a few that I might have renamed. The first time a group of ladies came in. Who were near the end of their wine tour and had quite a few glasses. You know, when we had a beer called Squeeze and we had a beer called Softie, and they said, we'll take 3 squeezes, but don't give us a Softie. We regretted. We said we need to spend a little bit more time thinking about beer names, and theoretically in the future we will.
I love it. Oh,
but yeah, 25, 26 years now. We've done in 8 months.
It's fun.
So we're trying to do 3 to 4 a month now, new releases.
Okay.
Which, yeah, it's really pushing us. We're going to re-release beer starting this summer again. There's a bunch that people, because we didn't start really shipping the bottle shops until. Well, Toronto Brewing used to take us.
Durand
used to come pick up from us.
Durand and Toronto Brewing were the first 2 shops that we sold to. So
yeah, they were the only ones we were selling to at the very beginning.
Both the homies.
It wasn't until like the fall that we really put ourselves out there, and then yeah.
Well, that's one of the big questions we've been going over a lot lately too. Is beer, like the craft beer market in Ontario seems to be very driven towards new product. So we have a lot of conversation because like there's a lot of beers that like how do you like, and I'm sure the bigger breweries they work by numbers or maybe they work by feel or what it is, but that's always been a big question of ours, and maybe you guys probably have a better thumb on the pulse of things, but like you get breweries like Wood Brothers who are putting out 4 new beer a week, and you get wonderful breweries like Third Moon who's done like in 2 years have done like a couple hundred different beer. You know, we sit here and like, you know, we enjoy coming up with labels, but there's always that.
Well, that's the thing. So I wanted I like last week I had 6 IPAs. I would like to say all 6 of those IPAs were unique in their own way. They weren't 6 of the same beers, which I'm not saying other people do. It's just,
but how do you plan and how do you present to the market? Because the thing is
you have
like,
to keep
because like deep down like we love these beers, right? Do you make a beer? Do you put all the time and effort into making this beer? Like you know, like Ethereal that we just drank. I look at it as like something that's amazing, great. And do you drop it off and never put it back out again, all for the sake of the new beer push? Or do you reintroduce it after so long, or how do you do it? And it's I guess it's one of those big questions that we, like me in sales and Rob in brewing is something that we ask ourselves, and I'm sure you guys see and think about
Oh yeah.
too, because you have
Yeah.
all these beers come across your desk.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that is a question without a clear answer, definitely.
Yeah.
And Bebo from Third Moon has talked about this before with kind of the pain of that of that very problem, because he's talked before about having beers like Continuous Blood, their Galaxy IPA, which is a fan fave, or Bone Tree, like what they consider their flagship. And the ones that always have rave reviews, and they'll get questions of when are you bringing this back, and and all that, and they want to bring those beers back, but it's a case of every time they do, they sell at about a quarter of the clip of anything new that they put out every time. So
Yeah.
it's a case of that, they want to give people what they want when they're asking for these beers to come back, but at the same time, how do you balance that out with the fact that something new with a new name and a new label is going to sell four times as fast? There's no good answer to that.
Yeah, it depends on the consumers. My favorite thing with this conversation, the first brewery I ever noticed that does it in what I think is the best way was Burlington Beer Co., where they would release their, I don't know, however many different beers they had that were regular. Like, it's complicated being a wizard, would drop like once every 2 months, 3 months. And it wasn't like, maybe it was like your fave and you go there, you'd be looking for new stuff. You're like, oh, you don't have that? Cool. Or next time you go, like, oh, it's back. Okay. And they were the first people I saw doing that and blending, because the side of the repeat beers was that, and I think you guys alluded to this earlier, was the tweaking of the recipe. Like, kind of, you just said, Ryan, what, do you make a beer that's as good as Ethereal and be like, done with you? Like, that seems redundant. So if you can get these beers and tweak them, and they'll just get better and better and better each time, like, maybe the hype purchasers, who are the untapped folks who are going looking for the new stuff every week, which is a portion of the market, but it's not the only market. They will probably more lean towards the newer stuff, but it allows like Nate, like you were saying, like people are asking when it comes back. Now they might not like fly off the shelves like a new one, but it's going to be, this is the best. Oh man, this is the best version of Softie you've had so far. Like, and I think that is kind of a cool thing. And I've noticed though that after seeing Burlington do that many times, like for years, I've noticed that kind of everyone, even Massorum in Montreal, like they didn't used to do that. They do that now. I notice now they're bringing back all of these original beers. They might have done brand new beers exclusively for like 12 months or so, and then they started bringing stuff back. And I thought that when they started doing it, I was like, huh, interesting. And then you see Third Moon weren't doing that originally too. They were just pumping out new beers, and now they're doing the thing where they're bringing the same one back. Hey, like the one, what's it called? The Dead of Winter, the lactose double IPA that just came out a few weeks ago. They dropped that last year, same time for the first time. So now they're bringing it back. And Badlands been doing that from time, doing the same beers but different versions. So you might not get this exact beer. You might not get Ethereal for another 12 months. So enjoy this shit while you can. And so it's all about, I think, spreading it where it needs to be to make people want that product. Now, if maybe 12 months is a little extreme, maybe some SKUs are going to be 12 months, some might be 6, some might be 3, and I guess it's sort of some sort of magical, you got to throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. And you guys haven't been open long enough to be able to even have that conversation yet. So I think it's still early days, and it's like, I think the answer is there is no answer at all. Like, and it's just keep trying.
I think it's just experiment, try something, and I think that's kind of a lot of our experience here is like, you're right. Like Rob tweaks it every single beer when he rebrews it. He always tweaks it because there's always something as you drink it, you get to know it. I make
notes while it's fermenting, while after packaging, you make notes on like, hey, next time I brew this, I think you're doing this different. So, you have to evolve. You have to evolve the beers, because if not, we'd all be drinking the same beers we were in 2012.
Yeah,
So,
I think
I
I
always
think
try to get
that's
better each time I brew a beer.
Oh, sorry, Nate.
no, that's all right. That seems to me like the mark of someone who cares about who cares about their product. If you're finding something that you can tweak to make it better each time, that like I feel like that's the sign of a good brewer and someone who who cares about their product, and the customer and the customers definitely will see that if they're if you're constantly changing it and making those tweaks so that each version of the beer is the best that it can be. If it's going to, then it's going to keep getting better each time.
Yes. I think
Like,
that's
nothing's perfect, so especially with for craft beer these days, you have to be innovative. You have to be on top of the new trends. You have to be, you got to make the best product possibly every time.
facts. Definitely. And I'm noticing we're enjoying the conversation so much. We're very, pacing through the beers. Do you guys feel like you want to break up the haze?
Yeah, we got to
fest?
move through it.
Yeah.
Let's move it along.
So, as Ryan was talking about earlier, we're going to move on to Euphonic, the West Coast IPA. If anyone is a regular listener or viewer, you know that Nate and I are West Coast fiends. So this is very exciting. I had I believe was your first West Coast IPA, and it was not
So we did
Euphonic.
High Fidelity.
That's what High Fidelity was. Okay, I
We
couldn't
would
remember
have
the name.
released that, I guess, September, maybe late August. So
That
it was a real classic West Coast.
Right. And what is the difference between High Fidelity and now Euphonic?
Yeah, so High Fidelity was a true West Coast. So I mean that was Simcoe, Cascade, Citraaa.
Okay.
It was full on 70 IBUs, 75 IBUs, had crystal malts in it. For just the way I used to brew IPAs back in 2012, 2013.
Right.
It was excellent. I really, using the water profile I wanted and using on the equipment that really I knew how to use, really made that into an exceptional, classic West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the Euphonic that we have here today, though, this would be my take on a modern West Coast.
Ooh.
So why I call it modern? I first heard about this style, Beer and Brewing Magazine. North Park did a little article on this style. So it's when they say modern, they use new brewing techniques as incognito. Again, this has the mosaic incognito in the whirlpool. The first dry hop in this is a newer hop called Talus.
Yes.
It was an HBC hop not too long ago. Just got a name a few years ago. So Talus is the daughter of Sabro.
Really?
So Sabro hops, a lot of people know them. They're that coconut flavor, very overpowering hop. I
Mm-hmm.
like
Yep.
this one because it has all that same kind of flavors. It's like creamy, coconutty, piney, but not as overpowering as a Sabro would be. The beer that I had though, Ryan was down in the U.S. I guess last summer in October and picked up some beers from Fidens Brewing Company, and we had their new style West Coast, which was excellent. It was it kind of opened my eyes to what a West Coast beer actually had the potential to be. So it's lower IBU, so this is around 50, 55 IBUs in that range. We heavily dry hopped it at the beginning of fermentation with Talus. Talus is what I remember I mentioned it. Cashmere mentioned that'd be more of almost a texture hop. I describe Talus as even being more so of a texture hop, where it's actually adding almost a perceived body to the beer. You almost get a creaminess that is it's not that Sabro coconut cream. It's kind of like this pine cream that comes through on it. It's definitely a hop that I love now. using it. I think if used correctly, it can add a lot to a beer and make it very unique. Again, we went for something that was similar to a traditional, but
Sorry, just tell us to shut the fuck up.
No.
So we can cheers
We
properly.
didn't want to interrupt you.
cheers.
I don't want to interrupt at all. This is
I can
fascinating.
talk forever.
I just want to keep. No. Please don't apologize. I want to just sip this as you're talking about it because this is fascinating. So I want you to keep going. Mosaic, Incognito, and Talus. Was there a third hop? Excuse my ignorance.
Yeah, so it also had Simcoe and Citraaa near the end of fermentation.
Mm.
So that gives it that kind of classic kind of citrus pine flavor too.
Okay.
What I think it combines to make is kind of like a unique take on the West Coast. It's not sweet. It has a perceived sweetness that I feel like you get from the hops and from that kind of lower IBU in the West Coast. We're really happy with this, and our customers actually are really happy with it too. So this is one that I really want to keep, if not the same beer, keep going on that new style West Coast trend.
Yeah, man.
Hopefully, maybe it's not a trend now, but hopefully make it a trend.
Ooh. This is fantastic. This is really good. It's like real light bitterness too.
Yeah, so it's definitely lighter on the bitterness. It doesn't have that kind of dryness that you would get from that classic West Coast, and that's a lot to do with the water profile as well. So, like I mentioned, we use reverse osmosis, so we can do we can change the ratio we look at is chloride to sulfites. So if the lower the sulfate, the higher the chloride, it's more smooth and creamy. If I was to go the opposite, go higher sulfate, lower on the chloride, it would be more of that kind of sharp, crispy bitterness, perceived dried almost. So one of the advantages we have in this facility is that water. So we can tailor that mouthfeel how we wish.
Yeah, man. No,
That's definitely one of those kind of underappreciated aspects of beer, and one that I feel like not enough people talk about is is how much water can impact the flavor and quality of a beer, and for how the attention to that kind of detail can really change a beer's profile a lot more than you'd expect.
Yeah,
definitely. I feel like this was, and this is maybe a silly thing to describe it as, but because it's so like fruity, and approachable compared to what you guys were talking about earlier when people come in and be like, I don't like IPAs. That this is what they're talking about. But this is like a gateway West Coast. Like, if there's people who are maybe used to haze and are not, used to having that softer mouthfeel and not being punched in the tongue with hops, whether it's bitterness or these more extreme flavors, like this kind of like hits it in like it's clearly a West Coast. You can tell immediately it's a West Coast, but it's like all the things compared to say the high fidelity that, like you said, would have been more old school. All of those are like dialed back a little bit, whether it's the bitterness, whether it's any sweetness, whether it's any pininess, like all of those things are a little more just like, brought to the center a touch, and it sort of would not turn somebody off. I mean, maybe if you're not used to any bitterness, someone could try this and they would go, fuck, that's bitter. But I still feel like this is like a more approachable option. So have you guys had experiences in the tap room where you've given this to people and they've been like, whoa, what is this? Why is this so good, when they're expecting to not like it?
Oh, absolutely. Well, it was nice because we were doing flights last week, and we actually had 4 different IPAs on. And definitely, this was the standout of the IPAs because it was not the hazy style. And I was actually surprised how much of this we sold to go just because of that. It's when the options are all hazies, it's nice to have one that's it's a change, but it still has those same qualities as the hazies as far as the approachability.
I always like putting beers in front of people and not telling them what it is. The benefits of owning a brewery, and I think that it's like focusing on a happy customer rather than a dollar in the pocket, is that
Yeah.
you just pour a pile. Like the best is like when we have like full tap line, you can just pour like my absolute favorite thing about the brewery is being able to, and it goes back to beer, is like when you get a couple that comes in and you can just pour 6 samples of all the beer you have on tap and just put it in front of them. Like they're not buying this. There's no expectation. It's just here. Let's chat. And the thing is you're getting people who are open. They're up for trying whatever, and you're putting something in front of them. I think like, and it perfectly correlates with the new West Coast, is that you put it in front of them. If you told somebody who even like who's into beer what it is, you start to form all your preconceptions, and when you
Yeah.
get to just put the beer in front of somebody. And I think that's what this beer, I think, kind of represents for me. And when I'm selling it, is that you're putting it in front of somebody and they don't exactly know what a new style West Coast is. They don't know what they're looking for. And I think that that gives us the benefit of just like Rob talking about it. He's thinking of how he wants it to taste, not what the style tells him it should be. And I think then you get some honest reviews. You get honest feelings. You get people going in without bias, and you get people giving you that good feedback and really getting into the beer. So that's for me, Euphonic and the West Coast. Like that's the area I'm looking forward to exploring, because it's an area without preconceptions, I guess.
I think
Interesting.
having that kind of experience without preconception is valuable, no matter where, like no matter who you are and where you are, kind of in your beer journey, because it's. I mean, like we were talking about the perception of haze and and kind of what the level of that does to our expectations, of the beer and whatnot. Um, if you kind of go into it without being told, this is a double IPA with 3 different kinds of Citraaa in it, or this is this is this has mosaic, incognito, and cryo, and all of these things, or we're calling this like a new style West Coast and whatnot. You definitely form a lot of preconceptions in that before it's even touched your tongue. So and that could be true of someone who's been into craft beer for 10 years, or or someone who's been drinking Bud Light their whole life and and thinks they don't like IPAs. So there's definitely something to be said for that, I think, because you're letting someone form their own opinions and and thoughts on something without kind
Let
of
the
tainting
product
it with
speak
any
for itself.
with any of those preconceptions. Yeah, like you say, let the product speak for itself. There's something really to that for sure.
I think that's the cool thing about craft beer now is there's a lot of like Matron's big on it. Matron has different beer styles on their can, and it really throws you. Is
I love
like you
that.
get the
I love that.
I do.
I think it's great, because the thing is if you're told something, okay, so like if you're told this beer is a hazy, you're like, oh, we have a hazy IPA, and this has
You
happened,
instantly compare it.
and I get a hazy IPA, and it's as clear as this beer. You're instantly turned off, and it changes.
Yeah,
Is that beer bad? No, not necessarily.
it
It's
might
because
not
like
be.
if you're, yeah. So I think it's pretty great how fluid and how innovative people are with the beer styles, and adjusting this, adjusting that, playing with this, playing with that, and just kind of the cold IPA and all the different things that are coming out. It gives you a chance to explore new avenues without bias, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I guess that's part of the. Once again, you guys are in a unique position, being where you are, because you got the, like you said, the different wine tour groups and the tour buses and such coming by to be able full of people who are looking for a new experience and to be introduced to it. So it's like you guys out there, just for the fact you're in a region that is typically quite touristy, obviously mostly in the summer, but it doesn't really stop. Um, are really playing a big role in introducing new people to craft beer as a whole. Obviously, it impacts your business, but impacts the industry. What the way that you guys introduce people to it. Which is kind of a bit of a burden to hold, I guess. But it's not just you guys out there. That's pretty sick though, to be able to sort of introduce folks to things like that. Did the high fidelity sell as much as this Euphonic, or do you think this is people are gravitating more towards this because it's a little more restrained?
Euphonic's definitely getting more better reception, I would say, than the West Coast. The West Coast was fine. Like, it was a great beer. It was like I described it was like 2010 in class.
Right.
It was a perfect representation of what a good West Coast was back in the day. Cascade, all the way on the Tri Hop, Simcoe Whirlpool, like it was excellent beer. I really liked everything about it. I have a soft spot in my heart for that classic kind of West Coast IPA. That's really what got me into beer.
Right.
But this new style, man, is so much better.
And
it
so
really is. It's a superior
sales wise. It's sales wise, it's really, as this is why one of the reasons we waited a little bit to come chat with you guys is I like, in my opinion, as a sales guy, I think it's too early to say. I think that like we had a lot of people who really liked High Fidelity. So I think that it was like, it's kind of that nostalgia. It's the same reason. It's the same reason I still go and grab a couple bottles of Schneider Weiss and drink those. Is there's a lot of nostalgia to it. But in this beer here, I think it's got a lot of different takes and a lot of people receive it like in a better way maybe. But like, I still think it's too soon to say. We're gonna have to make more of each and see how it goes.
Yeah,
that's
we'll
true.
go over that next time when you're here.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Release them at the same time.
That would be great, actually. I would love that.
Do a little West Coast collab too. So like Nate and I are super tight.
Old school.
Yeah, that could be fun. Seriously though, like we did a podcast, I don't know, late last year, I believe, Nate. I'm fucking terrible with time. And
yeah, it was November.
And we focused just on one style. We talked about West Coast IPAs because it was, if you did it was something that we're passionate about. And coming from Quebec, there was a few, but not a ton. Coming into Ontario, there's a few, but not a ton. So we just tried to pull some ones that are pretty relatively easily available. And it's so few and far between. Like, it wasn't like we had list to choose from. Like, oh, what should we do? It was pretty easy for us to decide which beers to include in the episode, which shows the sort of lack of West Coast representation as a whole in the scene, at least between the two provinces. I mean, we can't speak. I know if you go to BC, I'm sure it's like, according to my friends and from what I've seen out there's a lot more regular West Coast IPAs, which makes sense. But like, I think the market, it just like this works within the brewery space to break up a flight of a bunch of hazy IPAs. It does the same in the marketplace. And I think it's really cool to see this. But it's still so few and far between. When I know someone, I think Third Moon dropped one last week, and I was like, yo, West Coast? That's like not a flagship from someone? Fuck yeah, let's go. Like, if I wasn't sick, I would have left out and got it. So like, it's like it's very cool that you guys are doing this and that you're doing multiple West Coasts, because there's not many breweries that do that. And I think that's really important, particularly like, coming from Montreal, like Sankey and Baron in Gatineau, they do like a suite of like 8 different West Coasts, and they're the only people I've ever seen to do that. So I feel like they're like on the extreme, like, yeah, we fuck with West Coast heavy, and they do that. But out here, there's just not a lot. And I just think it's important for a well-rounded palate and for sort of, to break up the Haze Fest. I love the Haze Fest. Obviously, all 4 of us do. But this is so welcome, man. It's so welcome.
Can I point something out, too?
Yeah, please.
So I noticed we're declaring our IPA not even like our hazies. We declare them as IPAs these days. My West Coast on my menu, I have to put West Coast IPA. I feel like
Interest. It's
6, 7
switched.
years ago, it'd be completely opposite. When an
Yeah.
IPA was different than what it is now, as far as what you expect.
Yeah.
That's
Dude.
such a great point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I could definitely see the like with the way the trends have turned, like if people just see IPA, and like particularly if they're beer nerds, if they're just seeing IPA and you pour it out and and it looks like this, they're gonna say, "What the fuck, bro?"
Hey, you tell me with West Coast, what are you doing?
They're expecting something that they wouldn't be able to read a book through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is interesting. And that's a great point. That's how much the vocabulary of the scene has
Well,
changed.
just in the past 5 years, how much the industry
Yeah.
changed like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure, man. I remember getting into hazies in maybe late 2016 because I wasn't able to travel for a long time due to immigration.
Yep.
So I was kind of landlocked for a bit, and I kept seeing all this stuff come in. And I know that like I was in Montreal, nobody in Quebec at all were doing hazies, and I know that I found Juicin, Sawdust City's Juicin first, and I was like, whoa, what the fuck is this? And when I was able to travel, went to Vermont, it was like mind blown. And then coming back, and it was just really kind of like it was a slow grind, and over maybe a year or so, and then it kind of became the norm.
By I think by the summer of 2018,
Yeah,
I think everyone in Ontario had hazy.
Correct, and if you
Yeah.
did I remember
that was the summer.
I agree wholeheartedly because I remember desperately searching for it in 2017, and nobody had it. We did like a whole thing in Michigan. No one in Michigan had them at all. There was one brewery. Old Nation was the only brewery in 2017 that were doing hazy IPAs. Nowhere else did. Like Michigan were like, fuck that shit, which I think is like respect. Do you think, guys?
Mm-hmm.
But it was cool to see that change, and now it's like completely flipped. Like you have to note that it's the West Coast because otherwise people will be like, what are you giving me here? It's an interesting thing to kind of manage. Do you guys get? So people often, Nate and I have talked about this before on the pod and on now when we were doing the Instagram lives, like what people call like the ticker culture, like the untapped folks who are just looking for the new beers and maybe more the hype folks. Do they frequent the brewery? Like I guess what I'm trying to get at is, are you guys sort of like categorized under the sort of like the trendy hype folks because you do predominantly do IPAs and hazy IPAs at that for the most part? Have you
We
guys
get a good
noticed?
mix.
We definitely have a good mix. Like I think
Good.
the only reason I can say yes that we've got a few of those people through, because it's hard to tell. Like when people come in, it's you're getting is originally we started off with 4-packs. We'd only sell 4-packs only of the same brand. We were new. There's only 3 of us that work here. Like there's me, him, and Bill. We're either working the tap room, brewing beer, selling beer, doing the books. Like we're everything. And we thought, okay, this will be easier. And we also like philosophically, we're thinking, oh well, like 4-packs, like it gets people into the brand. You know what I mean? If you have one and done, you don't get to know a beer. You don't know if that's their 8th beer, 6th beer, first beer. And I do know that and you can't change, like we can't change our computer system on the fly. And I know a few people came in looking to get one of this, one of that, one of that.
All the stuff they haven't checked in.
And like we said, like, well, we only sell 4-packs. So like, if you want to, and like, we're always really good. Like I'll pour you a full, like 6-ounce sample glass of each. If you need to make up your mind, free on me, just go make up your mind. But a couple of people got mad at us and left the brewery and didn't buy anything. So I would say that those would be that they would fall under that, I guess. But like other than that,
we get a good amount of people traveling between Ottawa and Toronto. We're an easy stop. We're 20 minutes off.
But for the hype, like
we get the people picking up I don't know.
Like our buddy's son is pretty hype on us. That makes me feel like we're hype. Like but other than that, like, dude,
it's fun looking at the on-tap screws every now and then. But
we try not to focus. Try not to look at those.
Okay, it's better not to.
Yeah.
We've had people live stream shitting on us from our brewery right in front of us. So after that, we just don't look.
What's the problem with anything specific, or just they're being dicks?
No, I don't know.
I think everybody kind of has their opinion, their goals, and all that. And the thing is
You can't please everyone.
you can't please everyone. But
No.
you know what? Like, and I've said to you guys, I said to Nate, I gave him some pints there when I met up with him, and I tell all my accounts and everything, good or bad, like we want to hear the feedback. Like the thing is we're an echo chamber. Like me, Rob, and Bill, we're an echo chamber. You
That's
know,
nothing to it.
so
Yeah.
we want to hear, like, if someone's gonna shit on a beer, then shit on it, man. I want to
We
want
are.
to hear it.
I think we're our own biggest critics.
Yeah, I think so.
We shit ourselves.
We're gonna take that to heart, because the thing is we want to know, like, if there's something about this beer, like, that, like, you have some, like, feedback, whether, like, the thing is whether it's voiced in, like, this is shitty beer or this is whatever, like, you got to filter it out and look to see, okay, is there anything positive I can take from that? And you know what? If you close off, to things
The
before you hear it,
majority of the feedback has been exceptionally good, like way more positive than we ever imagined.
Okay.
yeah, we're pumped that anybody likes us.
Hey, man. Like, I'm not.
Sorry,
I'm
on
not
that note, I
surprised.
do have to use the washer. But
So,
Please.
yeah, he can go. I'll take over.
Go for it.
No, it's all good. I forgot to tell y'all beforehand. Just when you need to go, you got to go. No, I like that though, man. I don't like that part of the ticker culture, because I feel like beer, even though there's people like Nate and I who kind of have these, platforms and we yap about beer or whatever, like, we know that we are not the ultimate arbiters of what good beer is. Like, we feel like we have a pretty decent palate, but at the end of the day, neither of us are Cicerones or BJCP or actual fucking experts. We just speak to a lot of people like you guys who are smarter than us and know more than us, and we do that a lot. And we try a bunch of stuff, and we know what we like, and we kind of have an idea about it. So I feel like it's very difficult to sort of be that, like, this beer is unequivocally shit. I mean, sometimes it's true, but, like, it's really difficult, but not very often. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like that non-constructive stuff. Like, Nate and I always try to have, like, a very positive approach and stuff. And if there's something we really, really don't like, we just won't post about it. Like, there's no point.
You know what? I guess, like, the positive outlook on it is always, like, ticker culture or not, like, it's a community. And I think that craft beer has created a bunch of little communities. This brewery, the whole goal of how we've set everything up, like, it's the idea of the community, like, the going down to the pub to have a beer and knowing that there might be a couple, like, 25 people who at any given time, one or two of them will be there.
Yeah.
And they can sit and talk with them in the community, right? And talk about the beer. And you know what? Like, everybody sat at the bar and listened to your buddy's shit opinion about music. They might like Rush and not realize how shitty Rush is as a band. But the thing is you can't hate somebody for their opinion. You
thanks,
just
Andersons, for the products you sent me last week. I got all the new fresh beers and a guitar pick.
But it's good or bad, like, shallow, misinformed, way off kilter. It's good to listen to these opinions. It's like sitting in a bar room, somebody reviewing this, that, or anything, right? And I think that that's something that's, it's really adding something awesome to craft beer. Like, it's adding something awesome that we can, you can see these beers that are checked in, and you can hear this shitty review. You can go drink it and be like, I agree with that, or I don't agree with that. And, barroom discussions have started over just the same thing, right? So it is what it is.
I think that's the right attitude to have, and I think that's probably it's probably one of the only ways that's probably one of the only attitudes that you can have in this scene, in order to be able to endure it a little bit, because Cee and I have seen have seen that some corners of the scene can get very, very toxic, in a number of ways, and just absolute savage bullshit that's not helpful to anyone. That if you would be hard pressed to find anything constructive to take out of it. But if you're willing to filter through that bullshit to like, and even if there is something constructive that you can take out of a shitty comment or whatnot, and if you can have a bit of a thick skin about it, I think that's like, I think that says a lot about like about your attitude towards this, and will and I think it will serve you well like in this scene. Some breweries have it worse than others. Like there's some who people will either go full throttle absolute love, or if there's one thing or if there's one thing that doesn't meet their expectations,
Sorry, we have
then everything okay there?
There was a bat. We don't know where it came from.
there's a bat flying around us.
Oh shit!
I'm just making sure it doesn't land on me.
Right,
Oh
you don't
yeah,
want that.
yeah. No, that's fair.
That was
That's what it's
gross.
like in the county, man.
Just winter
I
bats.
should have the back door open, I guess.
Uh-oh.
I hope he's okay.
I think you'll be fine. He's been living here, I think, for a little bit.
Okay, so he's doing all right. He must be terrified.
That's okay. I'm probably droning on a little bit anyways, but like, C knows what I'm talking about here. Just
Yeah.
kind of how toxic the scene can get sometimes, and how savage and and unforgiving the scene can be a little bit. But if you're willing to kind of look for the nuggets of of wisdom that can be taken away from from even the shittiest of feedback, I think that's that's something that can that can serve you well. One of the things that I think is great about you guys being in the county is that it being a tourist area, you're going to get and I'm sure you've seen this, that you're going to get all kinds of folks in there. Like you said, you get people who are finishing up a wine tour, or you'll get the folks who are in there just for a weekend in the county, and they're discovering this new beer called this new brewery called All My Friends for the first time. Like, the fact that you're going to be able to get that many different kinds of people of different exposure to the beer world coming through your door, I think is a pretty great thing. And the kind of feedback that you can get from that will be so much more varied as a result.
Mm.
Oh, absolutely. Especially, yeah. People come from all over here. It's not even, it's not just Toronto and Ottawa either. It's people from all over Canada come out here. Internationally, we get quite a few people from, actually, we get quite a few people from the Montreal area. And it's funny because there's definitely a different market for beer in Quebec than Ontario. Definitely gravitate to the higher ABV, the double IPAs.
Do they ever?
Yeah, it's funny. It's definitely a different market to them. They're definitely more perceptive of the style beers that we do compared to the Ontario market. And talking to other breweries, like talking to Wood Brothers and stuff, who are so close to that market, and they're like, it's definitely like a different monster over there than I would say out here, but than Ontario. But yeah, being in the county, we kind of get a piece of it all.
It is for
awesome.
sure, and Cee and I know the Quebec scene pretty well. Like, with him having lived in Montreal for 10 years, and me being Ottawa, I'm just across the river from them, and I have quite a bit of exposure there. In the last 3 to 4 years, with kind of the hype scene exploding there, catching up and even surpassing a lot of the scene in Ontario on that front. There's definitely a subset of the Quebec scene that has kind of really exploded into that area of looking for the deepas, like you say, in the last little bit. Probably the quieter section of the market is is actually more leaning towards the lower ABV side, side of things. But the hype boys in Quebec are very much all about the heavy haze these days.
And you guys are on their radar strongly. I remember when you guys first came out, I had some friends out there who were visiting the county and stuff, and it was you guys were in the conversations where they had the Quebec traders are some of the most intense beer trading people I've met, and they you've entered into their trading world, and people are like excited to get hold of that shit. It's fascinating even for me. I lived there for a long time, and I would just be on the outside. I had this one connect who had a network of proxies everywhere. And even now, I still get him stuff from here because we do a lot of. There's been a bunch of barley wine and stuff. These guys like the double barrel aged $27 bottles of barley wine and shit.
Yeah.
So I've been getting
barley wine is a fucking great beer, man. Barley wine is awesome.
It really is. I've only been turned on to it the last
for the month of December. It's awesome.
And that's it.
There's the time. It's
Except
December.
in Quebec.
It's barley wine time.
In
I
Quebec,
secretly
it's
sit
July.
back and like the two least sellable beers, Doppelbox and barley wines. That's I just want to brew it, but it's like nobody's buying. Who's buying these? Who's buying them other than us?
Is it Third Moon just did double box? I really want to try it.
I really want to try that too. That looks
yeah.
rad. That looks so good.
I love double
It
box.
really does.
Yeah, they go hard. Well, Quebec is going to be
okay.
the market. Yes.
So,
Next.
fellas, we've still got two more beers to get through, and I think we're coming up on an hour 40 here. We should get into
Hour 55.
into number 4 here.
So chug one, sip the next.
How about chug 'em all?
This is why I want to sit down and have a beer with you guys. This is great.
Next up is this glorious IPA Continuum. Oh yeah, this is glorious.
We'll
This
do
one-
the cheers first, and then I'll talk about it.
You know what? Look at that. See, we're learning. Do you know what the funny thing is? Is that we have to take our photos, but we can still cheers and then take the photos. afterwards.
Cheers and then photos, and then I'll talk while you do the photos.
Yeah, you go. I like that. And now I need a piss. I want to follow in your footsteps, Rob.
That'll work.
Okay. Ooh,
So
yeah.
Continuum. This is so we released this 2 weeks ago, a week ago, whatever. Or last week. Or
super
last
fresh,
release was. So
Yeah,
this
this
was
is the
released
freshie.
alongside Ethereal, the Mosaic IPA.
Okay.
It's funny releasing two hazy style IPAs at the same time. You want to make them both different, so that's what we tried to go for.
Okay.
Cheers.
I'm here for it. Cheers, guys. Get that in you.
Cheers.
Ding, ding.
Oh, yeah. Ooh. All right.
So this one I would not describe as dank.
No.
No.
This is definitely more on that softy style, where it's more of that
Yes.
going for that extremely smooth, creamy mouthfeel.
Yes.
Yep. So
So
something
again, this is hopped with Amarillo Cryo, Citraaa pellet, and then in the Whirlpool it had a little bit of talus. So talus again was what we used in the West Coast. I described it as that texture hop again, where it actually gives it almost that. It adds that velvety mouthfeel. This
like
one
the idea of
also
texture.
6.2%, so same
Yes.
ABV, same kind of finish and gravity. So this one has, I would say, a higher perceived body than the last hazy IPA you had from us, the Ethereal. That's due to the way the hops are layered.
Okay.
So this one has more of the hops layered at the early during fermentation, so you kind of get more of that those biotransformations that makes it that kind of creaminess. The flavors this one has is more, I guess, more of that citrus grapefruit, not much berry to it. I don't know, how would you describe it?
I taste the talus.
Yeah, so yeah, you get that
It
kind
comes
of
with a good flavor.
a bit of coconut from the talus as well.
This one, I think, like just between this and the last one, Ethereal, like to me, like we were drinking these both from the tank, and you notice a lot of I noticed the body. Whereas in like I always felt like Ethereal was like it was like a very crushable IPA that had all the flavors you wanted from the IPA, but still somehow was like it had a little like less body, like it was a little thinner, I guess.
Right.
Whereas this one gives you that nice thick and creamy, like kind of feel that you kind of want when you take like a sip from a hazy and you sip it.
We're going for that kind of velvety,
Yeah.
silky mouthfeel. It's got a this one.
Yeah, what I get on what I get on this, I definitely do taste the coconut coming off the talus there, and then when combined with the kind of citrus zest thing that's also coming off of it as well, it's almost giving me a vibe of like a key lime pie kind of thing with the like with it coming
Oh
off
yeah,
so
Yeah,
like
definitely.
so
yeah. No,
creamy.
It's cool. This beer's young. So obviously, like each week now, like having this one today, I'm like, compared to packaging day, it's already changing. Like it's already getting smoothed out a bit more.
that's the thing about these beers is like when you're like every like when you come in for a shift, it's nice to take like a little pour of each because I find the flavors in them like evolve so well. I think like we did a double we did bougie juice was like a perfect example. Like the beer you had when we first put it out versus like a month later, like you're getting so many different flavors, and every week you're kind of like picking up different notes. Like even this, it's like I'm getting a little bit more. Like the euphonic, I picked up a lot more of the talus.
I think we're finding around the third or fourth week mark is when it really is kind of like its peak. Not
Mm,
that it's bad
okay.
before or after. It's just kind of has
Well, different flavors come for
peak of
that take the
smoothness
stage.
to how much flavor's coming through. It's kind of like the
Mm.
ratio.
No, that makes sense.
So at the like when a fresh beer you have, it might have a ton of flavor coming through that you want, but not be as smooth as you want. If you age it for about 3 weeks after packaging, it's got all that flavor and that smoothness.
Right.
Right.
Interesting. No, this is great, man. I'm definitely getting everything you guys are saying. A little bit of earthiness in there as well. I feel like there's like
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I don't know if I wouldn't call it bitterness, but it's kind of like that grassy herbal type of thing, which must be the. I don't know if is that still the talus or is that like Amarillo or something like
That'd
that?
probably be the Amarillo, to be honest.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's more that kind of on that spectrum of the hop flavors.
It's fire. Like you're saying, it's very. It's great to have now. We're 4 IPAs deep, 3 of them being hazy, and they're all very, very different beers, which is something
Yeah,
that
for
you guys
sure.
were saying
That's
before.
kind
Like,
of what we wanted as an IPA house. That's what you kind of want to hear.
very much so. Yeah, like they're all got their own unique characteristics, different bodies, different sort of notes that kind of shine through. Definitely the citrus, like Nate, you were saying on this one. Really creamy and chalky, a little bit nice and dry or like dusty. I like to call it, like sort of at the end there.
Yep.
The drier the better with these things. Yeah, man, this is super crushable. Once again, wicked ABV 6.2 is like a nice money zone. I love the
Yeah, we're
kind.
kind of finding that to be our pocket. It's
I
kind of
like
like
that.
that lower
Nice.
sixes. It's kind of has everything going for it.
8 to 9.5. That's
Bill and I have our
That's
own
My
Ryan's.
man.
pocket, I guess.
So me and Rob are the
well,
soft ones here.
we're different drinkers, right? So the thing is like I like Rob and Bill will have a few more. Like I'm really like a one, then this maybe a second if the first one went well. Um, I don't. These guys have never seen me drunk, and I'm thinking I can keep that up for a couple more years. But that's I guess that's the different. You know, I want that one big barley wine and then go okay, nice.
And we're done here.
Yep,
Interesting.
that's more my speed as well.
Yeah, man.
Interesting. It's isn't it? I think that's fascinating though. Like I think that's really cool because there's 4 of us here. It seems like there's we're like half as far as the way we like to drink. But I think that's so cool about beer that like there's these different nuances and sort of pockets of consumers who drink in very different ways, and they allow for the existence essentially of all of these other things. Like I'll fuck with a double. Like I'm looking forward to the next one. To be honest, I've been wanting to try this for a while, but like they're not my preference. This is definitely more my zone. But it's like it's just so cool that you're able to sort of make these things that sort of hit everyone in a different way. I just find that fascinating. Really, like that everybody drinks so differently, and that allows for the existence of these different sort of tiers, I guess, of maybe strength of beers, and then you can change all the flavors up between them. It's very cool, man. Particularly in a brewery like you guys, where you are doing a lot of one particular style, and allows you to kind of like really differentiate and target the different consumer in different ways, and everyone's drinking very uniquely, I guess.
Well, I think we're evolving as a culture, right? Like you go to like a European culture where alcohol's been around and it's not the novelty, like the go out and get hammered isn't as big of a thing. It's about enjoying the drink and all that. And
Mm.
from what I got from it when I was there here, like growing up, and I think it's a lot different now. Like I've talked to, I call them the youth, but like I'm 40 now, they're in their 20s. Like
The
when I was in my
kids.
20s, it was like you drank a lot of beer. Like
Yep.
you go out being social, and it was nothing to have 6, 7 or more beers, and that was a thing, and that was like it was the social norm, I guess. And I
Mm.
think like you can even see with the dry January, dry February, with those ridiculous drink standards that 2 drinks a week is supposed to be healthy, no
Mm.
more, no less. Um, but I think it's changing. I think like the perception on alcohol is changing. And I think that like, that's where craft beer really allows you to broaden that, where like you can enjoy just having that one beer or the 2 beer or the 6 beer or more, whatever. And I
It
think it's just
abs
it's normalizing it.
you're I think you're absolutely on the money there. The and like the way that drinking habits are talked about is certainly evolving. That's something that I've talked about quite and written about quite a bit over the last couple of years, and I've seen it change quite a bit. Like a couple of years ago, the way the conversation was going was almost that like things like dry January and even talking about health and drinking habits was mocked more than it
Yeah.
was like and just laughed at like more than it was kind of encouraged. But that is changing. It's definitely moving in the other direction where moderation is being taken a little bit more seriously. Health and drinking habits is kind of coming more towards the realm of sensible moderation, um, like landing somewhere in the middle of of the ranges of the Health Canada guidelines, like you say, of no more than 2 or 3 a week. Um, but also finding some room for habits like dry January and whatnot. I mean, the thing that blew my mind this year was that like by a hefty margin, there were more breweries in Ontario making non-alcoholic um, products, whether it be seltzers or hop waters or non-alcoholic beers. It blew through the roof this year compared to previous years. Like actually wild, and a bunch of them even making non-alcoholic craft beer brands. I was blown away by how many different breweries in Ontario have been doing this year. It's good to see. I think we're hitting kind of a happy medium, at least of being able to kind of have a serious conversation about like where it's not just kind of hitting either, go balls to the wall, like drinking all the time, or absolutely none. It's actually hitting a way where we can have a healthy conversation about it, I think.
Yeah, there's no shame, whatever you want to do, man. Just be you and accept others, right?
Exactly. And kind of if like whatever anyone needs to do to have a healthy relationship with alcohol, like you should encourage people to do what they need to do, and it doesn't have to impact you. Everyone can just kind of do what they need to do, and it's fine.
Absolutely.
I like
I
that.
always say with the tap room, I tell people when they come in, I'm like, uh, we really wanted like our tables, we have 8 foot long tables. Like it's very social. Like you can sit with other people, and And I always tell everybody the line, and I mean it is just like, hey, if you want to come in, I saw this at a brewery down in Connecticut called Alvarium. I remember walking in there, and you walk in, and it like their beer is phenomenal. Like if you ever get the chance, try it. But I walk in, and there's like obviously a table, long table like what we have here, and there's obviously like a whole family from like grandparents or possibly great grandparents all the way down, and like you know the one family member coming in with like a baby carriage, and then we'll be like, hey, so and so, do you want like one of these? No, I'm not drinking it. Just a water will be fine. And the idea that it's like a gathering spot for the family, like I found that that market and a lot of other markets and places around the world, like where the pub is a gathering spot, and like you're not worrying about, well, if you're not having a beer, we sell beer, you've got to go. Well, no. Like if you want to come in here and just grab a glass of water and stay all day, I don't care. Stay all day. Like sit at your laptop, hang out, man. Like I'll get to know you one way or another, and there's no shame. And like if you want to be here, part of the community and part of hanging out with the people who are here, you don't have to be buying the product. You don't need to be like consuming alcohol. You can be part of this.
Yeah.
And that was the cool thing about seeing all those non-alcoholic beers. I was pretty pumped about seeing how many are coming out. We're putting out far too many beers for me to be able to have time to partake in one. But we'll slow down eventually, and I'll be able to get into one of those.
They've become like a real big, I don't know, like I'm massive on them at the moment because having to, I mean, just like you guys are probably worse than me and Nate, but having to have some sort of semblance of balance in life has become pretty important. And on those nights off, the non-alcoholic beers, I like a couple years ago when I first tried them, I was like, it's probably more than a couple, it's probably like 3 or 4 years ago. I drained whatever one I got. I was like, this is garbage. What the fuck is this? But now I really appreciate it, and they get you through those, you know, those nights when you're taking a break and maybe you do want to have a beer. The whole, you know, looks like a beer. It's the same breweries that you would buy beer from. You're cracking a can, you're pouring it into your favorite glass, and you're drinking it in the same way. That it's sort of like, it's, you know, like if you're having a vape to quit smoking. It's that movement. It's the movement that kind of like helps you deal with it. I don't know, I feel like there's the future of not even just non-alcoholic beer, but like say if sparkling water. Like I fucking love when breweries have sparkling water or some sort of like, you know, what the hop water or whatever it might be, some sort of fun little.
I really want to try the non-alcoholic jelly cake.
It's fantastic.
Oh man, it's
just,
spectacular.
I love jelly cake. Huge fan of it.
The
I'm like, as a non-alc person, that should be like a soda pop in my fridge all the time.
Yeah, and it's better than the original, in my opinion.
And
the like the blackberry raspberry non-alcoholic Jelly King is the best non-alcoholic beer I've ever tasted. I would drink that any day of the week happily.
Bellwoods, if you're listening, feel free to send us some. Poor new brewery. We'd love to sample some of your product. We consider a collab in the future, maybe, depending on how it tastes. Just letting you guys know.
I like that. Helping out the community.
Just putting herself out there.
It's have you guys considered doing any, whether it's non-alcoholic beer or just like anything, sparkling water, kombucha, goddamn it, like, you know,
we did a seltzer.
Yeah.
It was the best seller actually.
It was a big hit.
It was a big hit in-house. I don't think I'll do one again.
Was it an alcoholic seltzer?
I think we were going to pivot towards the smoothies.
My man.
This summer, non-alcs we haven't talked about doing. No.
Maybe when we get more space.
Yeah, we're pretty limited on space.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I think I'm going to try to do, other than IPAs, stouts the winter. I want to try to get some smoothie beers out there.
That's a great thing. That was another question. Like, yeah, you guys obviously so far what you've done the blonde, sour, the big stout, which was one of the best looking cans I've ever seen with the black top the
That
black
was
can,
gorgeous.
and the whole space label. Exquisite, fucking
Mhm.
gorgeous. Thank you guys. It's beautiful.
And I fucking love this one too. By the way, like this one's right up there
Yes.
with that for me. I love
Yes,
this.
this is gorgeous. Continuum is so fire, and like it's like as you're sort of moving it, the guy holding the flashlight on the skeleton, like there's like the flashlight lights up. It's just so dope. And
Let's
do you know
shout
what
out the
reminds me?
artist. Let's shout out the artist here. This is art by at Scalpel Collage.
Yeah.
He's from Montreal. He's from Montreal. Check out his
Uh.
his Instagram. You don't know how cool it is to see other people as excited as we are. Like the first 6 months, I would drive down to the brewery, which is about a half hour drive from home, when the new labels came in, because like I'd see them on my digital form, but to get to see them in real life was always like rad. You're just like, oh.
Man, this is crazy. Yeah, man, this one's exceptional. Do you know what this reminds me of, Nate? The one, the Mortalis, as above, so below.
Yeah, it's very similar to that actually.
It gives me that vibes, and I don't know,
totally.
something about this. Like that's probably one of my favorite beer labels of all time, and Stella was the other one, like your other thing, and this is up there too. Like you guys really truly have some phenomenal stuff. Like, and as unfair as it is for what's inside the can, like that makes the world of difference. You guys are sort of really, really set up for success with the quality of the labels that you're doing. Like it's obviously what's inside it, I think, is equally like set you up for success. But I feel like getting the conversion side of things, when you have to capture that new consumer, the fact that it stands out in a fridge. If I go to Durand, who I think I'm yet to see a better curated fridge in the province. It stands out. Doesn't matter whether it's the Stella in the stout section, or these in the IPA or the double IPA section, or the pale ale section or the sour section. Like it stands out, and I feel like, but it's all by whilst also like, oh, that's all my friends. Like immediately. Obviously, you've done it's really smart. You got the little stamp, the logo stamp right next to the name of the beer, which is obviously going to be front and center in any beer fridge. It's just so important. It's like I've got them all lined up in front of me here, and they just look so fire. It's just like you guys have given yourself such a phenomenal like advantage moving forward, and particularly as we said earlier, for like such a young brewery, like I can't overstate it. Like, and it's something that we've been relatively critical of. Whether it's the two things I think are most important that breweries don't pay attention to are social media presence and labels and branding. And you guys have got both of those down pat, so I love it. It's fucking killer.
That's a shout out. That's Bill's our social media dude.
Big Bill.
He was very reluctant, and it's very contrary to him as a person. But
he's killing it.
He is killing it. Like Bill, you're watching. You're killing it, man. He will spend an hour, 2 hours back in the back room just fussing over it, and he'll come out with gold.
6 hours.
Oh, he just comes like sometimes I think that's all he does in a day. But he just fusses over it and he comes out with gold, man. He's just killing it.
Oh, shouts to Bill. Yeah, he's killing it.
Bill.
Yeah, shout out to Bill, everybody. Shout out to Bill.
Should that be the episode name?
Cheers to Bill.
Cheers to Bill.
Well,
Rob, what's going on?
Before we hit the sorry to interrupt you there, Rob, but just before we kind of get to the point where we're wrapping up, we should make sure to crack that last beer. So if we can hit a quick pause on what you're about to say there, Rob, we should grab the next beer and then get to that.
It goes so fast. The conversation is so fluid, and you're like, oh shit, it's been 30 minutes. So, this is the beer I've heard about from a lot of folks for a while. It's the Big Dog. This is Ryan's time to shine. This bad boy is...
Look at that pour.
Look at that pour.
Ooh,
beautiful.
First time.
Glorious. Never poured a beer in his life. Oh, there goes my camera. I'm going to change the battery, and what I'm going to do is swap that over. I'm going to add that and that. whilst I change it. So, oh, you know what? Maybe just before I change the battery, I should pour this beer so we can cheers it, and then we can let Rob talk about it because you keep cock blocking the talking. Ooh, yeah. So this is your. You've had multiple double IPAs. This is obviously not the first.
Third or fourth?
It's our third.
This is our third double IPA.
Okie dokie.
And
Ooh. Look at that, mate. It is just a Merc bomb. That is just
Oh yeah,
yellow milk in a glass right there, man.
that's a thick boy right there.
4 C's.
Definitely one of the biggest beers. Definitely the biggest IPA I've ever made.
Hell yeah. First and
Not
foremost,
percent wise, but just overall, it's biggest body, most going on. It's
so fucking smooth, man.
8.8%. Again,
Yeah.
you have to have enough hops, enough body, enough everything going on to hide that high percentage.
Such a different
Yeah,
beer.
Ryan's
a lot that goes into the double IPAs is quite a bit different than how I brew my regular IPAs, to be honest. It's like the high mash. I'll over pitch my yeast a little bit on these. The other thing I do different is I will add more dextrose into the brewing process, which is a highly fermentable sugar. One of the reasons for this is to limit the amount of free anemone nitrates that are going into the beer, which will cause that fusel alcohol flavor.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to limit that amount of booze flavor coming through by selecting how my fermentables are.
Okay.
This one takes a long time to condition also. It's not just like a 1 month beer and done. This was in tank for 6, almost 7 weeks before we packaged it, just to condition out. Again, we used the Incognito from Haas Farms. This time it was the Citraaa product. Huge aroma we got off of it. Huge, just from the Incognito. Big dry hop we used. It's overall big. It's over the top. It's everything
It's a
big
wild
beer
beer
drinker
for sure.
It's big, it's loud, kind of like the label.
Yep. No, I feel that.
I
like
find
that.
I find it's wild that. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead, Ryan.
I haven't drank it in a couple weeks just because there's been other things, and I'm just still blown away. It's just a very smooth drinking beer. You're like nearly a 9% beer, and I'm like sitting here drinking it, and it's as smooth as the last beer I had.
It really, oops, running two on me. It really is, man. Like this is all that it's hyped up to be. It's so intense. I feel like it's easily the most intense that we've had tonight. I mean, obviously, ABV notwithstanding, but
yeah, ABV notwithstanding, like this one is aggressive as fuck.
Yeah, very aggressive. I also like when words are like you put like three words, notwithstanding, nevertheless, heretofore. You know what I'm saying? Big fan. And there's also 3 A's in Citraaa, which I'm a big fan of as well. I like it. You're just like, fuck it. Just lean in. What is this beer? Citraaa. Is that where you guys, was that the thinking behind the name?
Well, yeah, we're like, let's do a single hop double IPA.
Well, there's 3 kinds of Citraaa. There's Citraaa Pellet, Citraaa Cryo, Citraaa Incognito, and that's like a perfect example of Rob made this like out of control beer.
They told me to.
Yeah,
like, just go big on it.
Hey, Rob.
Citraaa double IPA.
Hey Rob, how
As
much
big and bold as you can.
Yeah, how much Incognito did you put in? I don't know, the maximum recommended dosage. Fuck, maybe you start with the lowest recommended dosage.
No, go big.
So the thing is, you talk like that, and then you come up with a piece of art like that, and you go, well, that makes sense, and everything just fucking clicks.
But when you go for double IPA, it's like the bigger the better. Like that's what people want.
Yeah,
it's true.
No, I love that, man.
Woo.
It's not. It's a drinkable product. That's the main thing. Like I'm not going. It's not bitter. It's not any of that. It's just big as far as flavor and
Yeah,
body goes.
I think you guys can, and this is something that just reminded me of something that we talked about at the beginning and you guys can tell me and tell us is like one of the things about like the beers that we wanted to make is like beer philosophy wise, even though we wanted to do these like ultra craft beers, we wanted every beer we made to be approachable. You know, like the thing is
expensive.
the thing is like you get like a big like a beer like Bone Shaker, and you really got to have a taste for that style of beer.
It's an old
For
school
sure.
90 IBU
Whereas in
IPA.
whereas
I love it.
Classic.
we can pour a Citraaa, our other IPA like doubles were like Curiosity and Bougie Juice, where we can pour these for a customer who isn't that, and they still like it. You know what I mean? Like it's an ultra craft product, but it's very approachable, and I think that's something that we always keep in mind when we're just like when we're doing all of our beers and coming up with what we're going to do. It's like we want that beer to like be drinkable to everybody.
Yep.
Like
I don't want anyone drain pouring my beers. Everyone has like there's a thing of like a good beer that's not you can't get through the whole can. I want everyone to get through the whole can.
I feel like you
Yep.
guys have succeeded with that for sure. Like it's never like too much. Like you're like, I need to chill on this. Like everything is very drinkable, and even this one, at the ABV that it's at, which is probably depending on who's drinking it. You know, some people it'd be a challenge. Some people might just be like, "Fuck yes," what I'm talking about. Like I feel like it's all like, what's the word? I was gonna say like balanced or restrained enough. So it's sort of like extreme enough to give you guys to give us all the drinkers the flavor, but also restrained enough that it's not like, oh man, I need 8 ounces of this and then I'm done type of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And this particular one I'm noticing here, and I think, how old is this one, would you say?
We packaged this would have been end of December.
Okay. So it's very green, I would say. And the reason I'm saying that, I'm still getting a little bit of greenness and hop burn, which is personally something I love in a IPA. That is like, for some reason, I don't, maybe you guys can shed some light on it, but it's like the ultimate, what's the word? Preservative for an IPA.
Absolutely.
If it's green,
If you're saying it's green, that means it still has
It
still
gives
has
it
lots of
legs.
time before
It's got legs.
it turns.
This beer, being what, 6 weeks old, has absolutely no business being this good.
Carry on.
And it's fantastic, like fucking fantastic. Probably I would even say it's probably my favorite of the evening, which is not what I thought I would feel because I've been sitting here raving the benefits of lower ABV beers with big bodies, but the big beer comes through. The Ryan and Nate takes the dub tonight.
Yeah, and this is the second time I'm having this one, and I do love it. But if I was to pick a fave for the night, Ethereal would be the winner for me. I'm a big fan of the dank, and and that one really delivered that really nicely. I was a big fan of that.
Hey, can I just say how much we really appreciate and how rad it is that like you guys have taken notice and have invited us on here, and like the fact that like we even get the opportunity to be here is wild. So I want to thank you guys. Thanks for drinking beers with us, even though it's remote. And
This time.
well, thanks for including us, man. There's you guys are.
You didn't have to.
Yeah, you guys are with a lot of the big guys, and everything aside, we're just some new guys putting out beer in a pretty small place with a pretty small brew system. So, thank you.
It's an honor, for real. You guys should be proud of what you've done in the short time you've been around. Like Nate, you could elaborate. I've been a fan since before we spoke. Heard about you guys. People were talking about it. fortunately, I was moving here. Duran had the shit. He put it aside for me. He was like, "Oh, I'll put some aside for you specifically." Like Chris, shouts to Chris. He's such a legend because he knew it was gonna sell. So he's like, "All right, let me tuck that aside." So I had to like let him know, type of thing. I just been a fan since of everything, man, and like you guys obviously are as cool as I thought you would be. Um, it doesn't matter the size of the brewery to us, bro. Like we like talking to great people about great beer, and that's what we have done this evening. And I feel like that's what you guys are doing. You're great people making great beer for a truly, like, what's the word? Like non-selfish reason. Like you just want to make people happy, and that's the feeling I got whilst talking to Ryan over the last 6 months or so. Um, and that's what I'm getting this evening. It's exactly what you got. You guys live your ethos, your mission, which I imagine is I'm very excited to see the tap room because I feel like that's like the ultimate experience of all my friends, and just to really like soak up the product and what you guys are doing. And I still feel I like that we captured it early on, and I bet you the next time we do it, it's going to be like here to here as far as breadth of styles and if we think the quality is good now, well, wait till fucking you've dialed this shit in even more, type of thing. Like it's cool to us to watch the journey and to sort of hear about all this stuff. And also, you guys are in one of my favorite places and contributing a lot to a scene that did not have what you guys are bringing. So you guys are making the area better for beer drinkers and non-beer drinkers who are about to become beer drinkers alike. It's fantastic. So you guys should be proud, really, for real.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with with everything that C just said there, and yeah, it's been a genuine pleasure to to have you guys on. It's been a great chat. We've absolutely loved to see what you've created in such a short amount of time. It's clear that you guys really have an eye on what you're doing. You have a care in your product. You you are taking this seriously in in what you're creating, both down to a scientific level. Like you say, you do really seem to know the science of beer, and that is especially in this realm, as we're talking of like hype beer and in haze and whatnot. That's something that seemingly is often overlooked, and but you seem to really have the details of that really really down, and the branding is truly exceptional. It's we don't see this from from young breweries, and and it's something really special. And you've created something special very, very early on, and we've said this before, both privately and on the podcast. Like, we're really excited to see what you guys end up creating in the coming year. So we're definitely going to be keen to to visit, absolutely, and to talk to you guys again in in 6 months to a year's time, and we'll see how you've grown. We're really excited about it.
Well, if you guys make it this way, you always have a place to stay and place to come visit and have pints. So just let me know.
Oh, no doubt.
Absolutely.
I'm thinking top 10 2023. That's what I'm looking for. I'm excited for you guys. Top 10 Ontario breweries. Let's fucking go.
We did say we did say one to watch. We did say one to watch.
The big one to watch.
We appreciate that honorable mention. Like, that's like, when we're coming into work every day just doing our shit, like that blew our minds and that pumped us up, man. That's thank you.
You're so welcome. Yeah, we're excited.
It's well deserved.
Some of the ones I could not agree more. The one to watch, I think, from the year before might have been Fine Balance, and then they were in the top 10 this year. I feel like Fine Balance and Doors were fantastic shit.
Oh, those guys are amazing.
Yeah, and you guys, I always say, like, I feel like we first met Andrew and discovered Fine Balance, we were like, oh, these guys are like up next. Like, they're like the ones that people like are going to discover, and it's going to be really annoying.
I
to
still
get
feel like they're underrated.
I don't think they
I
get as
agree.
much attention as they deserve.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, 100%.
I thought they get
They were actually like, I think they were one of the first people we reached out to when we wanted to do a beer. We did that Tango, the sour IPA with them.
Hell yeah.
And it's still one of like, I think like people, like anybody who's had it is just like, whoa. Like it's
Anything they put out is awesome. They do their lagers are next level. That oats and cream. First time I had it, I was almost mad it was so good.
Yeah.
And
no,
and
it's so fucking good.
Not to mention, we put out a beer with 3 forms of Citraaa in it, and they go, "Fuck you! We're gonna put out 4 double IPAs, all with Citraaa." Like,
that's right.
It's like, oh, fuck. It's like up and coming. No. See ya, buddy.
We've been talking. We're going to go down there and do a batch with them next month. So
yeah, please. Like, I see you guys as very like a parallel sort of path. Obviously, they got a year or two ahead of you guys, but like Nate and I definitely see you guys as a like I don't know. We it's almost like we sort of see the potential that we specifically like. Not that we fucking know anything about anything, but we're like, all right. Find balance. Like, Jesus Christ, this is like, why has no one like punched me in the face and be like, drink this? And you guys are the same thing. I'm just really excited, and I love that you guys connected with them. I know Andrew's obviously a legend. I believe Eric is the brewer's name, who worked at like other half, so they don't fuck around with this shit. You guys obviously are not fucking around in any shape or form. So for you guys being collabing to them, even not achieving their potential yet, are still wanting to work with other phenomenal up new breweries is super dope, and it makes me extra happy to know that you guys were working together and stuff. It's I don't know, man. There's so much potential for you guys and what you're doing. Like, I hope you are as excited about you as we are about you.
Absolutely.
Oh, we are definitely.
Yeah, it's man, it's how fucking great of an opportunity is it to be able to put out some beers and have people want to drink them like that. How lucky are we?
It's a beautiful thing.
We're pumped, and like not a message to you guys, a message to all the people who watch the podcast. It's just a big thank you. You know what I mean? Like, it's awesome that people want to be a part of what we are giving out. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty rad. Thank you.
Love it. Here for it. So let's get the thumbnail. We'll wrap up and then we can finish up off air. Do you guys want to hold up some cans? What do we got here? I can probably only get 2. Yeah, let's go. There we go. Oh, you guys got them all going.
We'll get the hat down there.
There we go. Boom. All right, ready? 3. Glorious. I think I got it here.
You did the face, too. That's perfect.
Let me check it. There we go. We got it. All right. Guys, hang on. I'm going to wrap it up, but once I cut it off, stick around. Don't cut off the call, and we'll chat after real quick. But Rob, Ryan, guys, thank you so much for hanging out, man. This is a pleasure. We're really, really stoked to get the full story and capture that in the concrete here on a pod. Where can everyone find you guys online and in real life? Where can they come see you?
Online, our Instagram is our main source. So at amf.beer will be our Instagram. Feel free to shoot us a message if any questions. I get them all. I answer them all. And our beers, pretty much every craft beer store shop across Ontario. If it's not there, I recommend asking them to get us, because I'd love to send beer there. And we're at select craft beer bars all over the place too. So
amfbeer.com.
Yeah, amfbeer.com.
And what's
so check us
out. $10 flat rate shipping in Ontario.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, $10 flat rate shipping. So let us know, like, just reach out, order. We'll get them out twice a week.
That's huge. And what's
that's pretty fucking good.
That's genuinely great. What's the physical address?
8 Stanley Street here in Bloomfield, Ontario.
Bloomfield,
We're at the
Ontario.
back of the building.
If you're ever going to between Ottawa and Toronto, or Toronto to Ottawa, either way, it's just 25 minutes off the highway.
We're a
Good,
small,
good restaurant.
small little spot in the back of a 150,000 square foot warehouse. Exactly our vibe.
I love it. And also between Montreal and Toronto, a lot of folks driving between. This is what I used to do for 10 years, drive between back and forth and always ducked
Montreal,
in.
sure.
Always. And I can definitely vouch for Bloomfield being probably one of my favorite cities in Prince Edward County. There's just great food out there. It's just like a cute, quaint main street with like a ton of stuff. So
It's gorgeous.
you can't go wrong. It's just super fire. Love it. Nathaniel, where can everyone find you online? So
You can find me everywhere at NathanDoesBeer and right here co-hosting BAOS podcast.
you know the vibes. Guys, thank you again for hanging out. This was super fun. Everybody, thank you for watching and listening. If you enjoyed the episode, smash the thumbs up, hit subscribe below, hit the notification bell, Nathaniel,
Ding.
so you know when the new drops. Follow us everywhere at BAOS Podcast. We drop the pods every Wednesday now. The audio goes in the morning at 7 a.m. So for those who are commuting, they will have some fresh shit for their car speakers or their AirPods or whatever the hell you're doing. And we drop the video in the evenings. Yeah, man, we got a whole bunch of stuff. Nate is basically co-hosting full-time at this point. Everything that we're doing, so we have a bunch of great ones. So thank you again for tuning in. Throw us a little 5-star rating if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcast. You know the vibes, helps a lot. And we'll see you sexy folks in the next one. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.